Hi, good morning. Welcome to The Big Issue. This is your election bureau and your platform for incisive analysis and riveting conversation. My name is Selorm Adonoo. A number of issues we have this morning. This week, Parliament once again adjourned indefinitely by the Speaker because the Speaker says that they were, of course, the majority or the MPP side of the House triggered a recall for certain business to be transacted. Speaker says on the day that Parliament was reconvened, there was no business to transact. And because of the circumstances, he had to once again adjourn the House indefinitely. Afenyo Markin, leader of the MPP group and majority, is livid or was livid, addressed a press conference, said a few things, said Speaker was setting the country on fire. Prior to that, the Speaker also addressed a press conference and says that the judiciary and the executive appear to be colluding against Parliament, something he thought weakens Parliament. What do you think? Now that Parliament is indefinitely suspended, there are businesses to transact. The free SHS bill, there's some 1D1F tax exemption, and about 10 other things listed as items that occasion the recall. How do we proceed from here? Do we just forget it, go for the election and come back? Or we should await the Supreme Court decision on Monday and trigger a recall? Even if a recall is made, would the MPs who are cocooned in their constituencies campaigning, would they really want to come back once they have an election to win or run, 2 or 3 weeks away? What really should we be doing? How should we even solve this matter? Should egos be put aside and the matters resolved amicably through negotiation? Or we should go the hard way using the legalities, the Supreme Court, etc.? I'm very happy to hear from you on what you think on this matter. Also, the Electoral Commission this week gave to the political parties the final register. The NDC has some issues with the register. The NDC says they are not sure that all the problems they identified in the register have been resolved. They also say that the register came without the summary, the regional breakdown, etc. So indeed, as we speak, we do not know how many people are on the register. The media, we do not know, because normally would have taken those figures from the Electoral Commission's announcement. This time, the Electoral Commission did not add that to the register. The Electoral Commission says it is not under any legal obligation to do so, and indeed, the law doesn't say so. But as a matter of practice, that has been what they've been doing. But this time, they decided to change it a bit because they say the law does not, call upon them to do so. We'll hear the arguments and see where the chips may fall. Also, we'll try and talk about American elections. Kamala Harris of the U.S. lost. Donald Trump, 45th president, now 47th president-elect of the United States. Of course, we've heard our political parties here in Ghana, the NDC and NPP, trying to take parts of Trump's victory, translating them into what is to become of our own elections. The NDC says Donald Trump is a second-hand good, now a president, Sankofa, and that Kamala Harris, sitting vice president, lost the election, and so same could happen in Ghana. NPP also says the Republicans are a party of the elephant. The NPP is also a party of the elephant. And indeed, ideologically, the Republican Party and the NPP are related. And so because the Republicans have won, the NPP will also win in Ghana. We'll look at all of that if there is some time. Once again, my name is Selorm Adonoo. The show is live and interactive. You can join us with your messages with the numbers on your screen, and we'll be happy to read them out to the rest of the world. I take a short break. I return, provide updates, introduce my guests, and then we'll get a discussion underway. Don't go away.
Dr. Baumian once said,
They are hurting the economy. These taxes are hurting, and therefore you are not going to get the growth. And when you don't get the growth, you will not get the revenue. And when you don't get the revenue, you go back to increasing taxes to get the revenue. And then you are in a cyclical downward spiral. And so they have it wrong.
Plenty English know the full baskets. They told us they'd move us from taxation to production, but they rather imposed over 40 taxes on suffering Ghanaians. Vote John Dramani Mahama for president. Trustworthy, honest, and reliable. Vote for change. Choose the umbrella. Vote John Dramani Mahama and the NDC.
While the boys get front row seats to an exciting Premier League game, the girls are next door, catching up on a scenic getaway to the Australian outback. Watching together is always better. That's why DSTV Stream has content for the whole family to enjoy. Families that watch together, bond together.
Yeah, welcome back. This is a big issue. My name is Selorm Adonoo. 3 issues we were trying to look at this morning. The standoff in Parliament, whether there's any hope for a resolution. Elections upon us some 27 days or so. Will Parliament really come back? They are supposed to be on recess, we understand. Now, Apenyomakin, Majority Leader, is saying that they will recall Parliament again. We want to understand how that will work, whether the MPs will even come at all. What is the problem? Is there a leadership problem on the side of the MPP, or it is the intransigence of Speaker or the leadership of the House? We'll look at all of that. Also, the Electoral Commission is provided to the political parties, as the law says, the final register for election 2020. The NDC has concerns. How credible is this final register? Also, Donald Trump is president-elect of the US. What implications does that have for the world? And what does that mean for Ghana? We'll look at all of that this morning. Before that, let me just provide you some updates. The never-ending drama continues in the legislative arm of government as the Speaker of Parliament, Abang Babin, has adjourned the House indefinitely due to a lack of business for lawmakers to discuss following the Business Committee's failure to convene and set the necessary agenda for the floor. The recall session initiated by the MPP caucus was expected to address several critical issues. However, with a group absent from the chamber, Speaker Babin once again adjourned proceedings indefinitely. More details follow in this report by our parliamentary correspondent, Ni Aikwe Okai.
From recess in response to a petition filed by the NPP caucus for a recall of the House. Now, during proceedings on Thursday, it was only members of the NDC group who were cited sitting on the right-hand side of the Speaker to depict their position as the majority side of the House. However, on the left-hand side of the Speaker, there was no member of Parliament seated. The Speaker, in a communication to the House, indicated that inasmuch as the House is constituted for proceedings to commence, the House does not have the required numbers to take decision, hence adjourning the House indefinitely once again.
Unfortunately, the signatories have not shown up, and therefore matters that they wanted us to handle, which are admitted for the consideration of the Business Committee, are not on the order paper, and in fact there's no order paper for today because the Business Committee could not meet due to the absence of the people who requested for the recall. And as you can see, one side of the House is completely empty. In view of this, we have, as usual, got a quorum to sit, but we have no business before us to transact, because the Business Committee, as you know, they prepare a report, and this report is adopted by the House as business agreed by the House to transact during the course of the week. In the absence of that, there is no other authority that can put business before you which you have not adopted to transact. knowing the challenges we are facing, it is not advisable to be adjourning from day to day. And so I'll proceed once more to adjourn the meeting indefinitely. And the meeting, this extraordinary meeting, is accordingly adjourned.
The adjournment comes 2 weeks after the House was adjourned sine die by the Speaker on October 22, following the contest for the majority status in the House between the NDC and NPP caucuses after the Formina, Agona West, Amenfi Central and Suhum seats were declared vacant. Despite a ruling by the Supreme Court staying the execution of this directive by Speaker Bagben, members of the NDC caucus occupied the majority side of the House. The NDC group addressed journalists after the indefinite adjournment of the House by the Speaker, accusing the NPP caucus of causing financial loss to the state due to their absence from the chamber today.
The NPP minority caucus have indeed caused financial loss to the state and to us, the NDC members of parliament, and to the people of Ghana. We say this because this recalls cost Ghana money. This is not the first time that they have done this. They've done this a couple of times, but we see nothing than disrespect. We call on the people of Ghana to see the behavior of the NPP and punish them accordingly. They have certainly, everything shows that the NPP are tired, they are fed up, and they are not ready to work for the people. They are ready for the people. They are bereft of ideas and they are short of vision. They cannot solve the suffering of the people. All what they do out there during campaigns, in spite of the hardship, is to sing and dance Osisifia. That's all what they do. In times like this, when the ordinary Ghanaian is struggling to survive, they are dancing and singing Osisifia and sharing money. We want Ghanaians to see them as such and vote against them and sack them.
What is before us, given precedent, is a matter under Article 99 of the Constitution, which in my view strongly belongs to the High Court as a forum on whether or not to declare a seat vacant or not vacant. But those of you who have studied Article 97 well, you must read the text well. The text reads, a member shall vacate his seat. Simple. A member shall vacate his seat. The provisions in Article 97 does not only talk about the future, it talks about the past. When it uses the word, if he was elected, it didn't say if he is elected, if he was elected. And for me, I haven't revised my constitutional law lately, and particularly the rules of interpretation as I should do. But basic, give words their ordinary common sense meaning. It is only when the ordinary common sense meaning leads to absurdity that you look for their secondary meaning. I do not see how the text in Article 97 can be compromised. More importantly, many of you will recall that when I had the rare opportunity to lead the minority, I kept warning then President Akufo-Addo and Professor Michael Quay as Speaker that watch the precedent you set.
The NPP caucus also addressed journalists accusing the Speaker of supervising chaos in the House.
NPP, our tradition is to respect rule of law. Yes. It's out of deference to Mr. Speaker. That is why we did not enter the chamber. That we should share in that chaos theater with them. Never. Never. We will not. MPP will not. We will not. Therefore, don't be swayed by their lies and their propaganda. What Mr. Speaker did today amount to supervising chaos and bringing the image of democracy to disrepute. Yes. Clearly, the NDC is on a warpath. They want confusion in this country. They want lawlessness in this country. And all these are being supervised by Mr. Speaker.
It was the Speaker of Parliament who unconstitutionally made the proclamation, whatever it is that he said the last time. The Supreme Court has told him that he was wrong. Restore matters to what they were before you did that.
Line of action for the MPP.
Well, we will cite him for contempt. We will cite the Speaker for contempt. Watch the space.
Well, so that's some wrap of what's happened in Parliament earlier in the week. As we speak, Parliament has been adjourned indefinitely. We don't know what they're going to do next. We await the Supreme Court's decision. The Supreme Court says to hear the parties on Monday and hopefully give a decision on Monday. And when that decision is given, we hope that it will bring all matters to rest. How did we get here? Some 4 members of Parliament decided to run the election on different tickets, 3 of them on independent tickets and 1 independent on the ticket of the MPP. And by the dictates of Article 97(1) and H, which has become contentious now, if you decide to sit or to run an election on a different ticket than you were in Parliament, the Constitution says that you vacate the seat, which is contentious now, and that's what the Supreme Court is being called in to interpret. Supreme Court is taking responses from the parties and says that by Monday they will sit on the matter, hear the parties, and possibly make a determination of the case on that day. While one side says that that constitutional provision actually affects the future Parliament, that would be the 9th Parliament. One side says that indeed it affects the present Parliament. We'll see what the Supreme Court says, whether the Supreme Court will say that the provision of that constitution, of the constitution in respect of that, should be given their ordinary meaning, which is, as the text has said, or the Constitution, the Supreme Court, with its original jurisdiction and the jurisdiction to interpret the Constitution, will provide some insight. We await eagerly the Supreme Court on that matter. My guest this morning, the Honorable Dr. Rashid Pelpu, Member of Parliament for Wa Central and the former Deputy Majority Leader, of course, he's been former Minister for some other portfolios. Dr. Dixon Adumakikisi, MP Anyaso Utuom, Dr. John Osai Kwapon, CDD Fellow Political Scientist, and our own Franklin Kujo, President Imani Africa. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program. Thank you. Let me start off with you, Dr. Pelpu. You have been in leadership before, you've been Deputy Majority Leader, so you've seen how Parliament works. The Speaker adjourned the House sine die or indefinitely because he says there was no business before the House. But we know that the MPP side of the House recalled Parliament or triggered a recall of Parliament. And on the notice to recall Parliament, there were a number of items they wanted the Parliament recalled to deal with. And so the argument is that those will constitute the business that you deal with. Speaker is saying that there is no business before them. Is there no business before them? Because we know the free SHS bill is there, the 1D1F thing is there, JB Dankwa University and a few other university bills are there. So there is enough business for Parliament to transact. Is that not the case? And why should Speaker say there is no business?
Well, thank you very much and good morning to our viewers and listeners. Parliament exists on rules, it exists on law, and it exists on precedents. And the law and the rules are that business of the House are stipulated by the Business Committee. I've been in the Business Committee for 12 years, so I understand what business of the House is. For any business to be placed before the House, the Business Committee sits over it, approves it, presents it back to the House, the plenary, for final approval, with the speakers presiding. So at any point in time, even when the Parliament is recalled on any emergency, a day before the emergency or hours before we go into Parliament, there's a call on the Business Committee to meet to approve the agenda or the business of the House. And then you look at it, you approve it, then you discuss with the speaker, and then you come to the House and present it to the plenary. This never happened. And so it was difficult for Mr. Speaker to say there's this business of the House. Now, if you wanted a situation where without the sitting of the business committee, you want the Speaker, despite the order in our business, in our standing orders, for matters of business of the House be determined by the business committee, the Speaker on his own may determine any business of the House. So it was important for those who wanted the House to resit, go to Mr. Speaker or to the Speaker, have a discussion with him. Normally, before we sit, before any sitting commences, leadership of the House would meet the Speaker, and then they determine how the business of the House can be run or would be run. And then, when you go, according to that stipulated business of the House, then he moves you through them. The minority leader or the leader of the business, the business committee, or the leader of government business will then spell out the specific areas he would want Mr. Speaker to take us through. In that sense, he can even request the Speaker to vary the business as stipulated, and it will be done. So the critical point is for the leader of government business to have very direct relation with the Speaker in this matter, alongside with any minority leader or any majority leader. So critically, you need to have a discussion with the Speaker. You need to understand the business of the House. You need to convince the Speaker about how to do it. Then you go into the House. The whole plenary will now accept it, and then you run with it. In this particular instance, nobody came to the Speaker. The Speaker sat there, waited for the leaders to come.
Who calls a business meeting? Is it the Speaker that calls a meeting?
No,
or the leader of government business will just go there?
Presently, before the Speaker's ruling, the leader, the majority leader, according to our rules, is the leader of government business, and would then call the meeting. In fact, there's a problem. I feel that there's a problem in our new standing orders that needs to be corrected.
Majority leader?
It is in the new standing orders, there is the leader of government business, and there is the minority person, the minority leader. Now, it is possible for the minority leader
to be the leader
of government business, to be the one that brings government business to the House. But in the present order given by the standing orders, there is the leader of government business and there's a minority. The minority can be majority and may not be the leader of government business, because government will not give his business to the opposition to lead.
Leader of government business and minority or majority leader.
Yeah, so just leader of government business. Maybe just call it leader of government business. And maybe you define the majority leader and minority leader later.
Yes, which are not captured in the Constitution. They just said, so in this particular instant, Afenyo is the leader
of government business.
He should be interested in seeing government business go through. He should fight to get his colleague meet the Speaker. He should insist in the order in which business should be carried out. A letter to the Speaker indicating why you are calling Parliament can never become the business of the House. It's just simply to get the Speaker to understand that there is an urgent need for a recall, to convince him that there's an urgent need.
Yeah, because I'm curious to know who should make the call. So, for example, is it the Speaker is a big man?
Yes.
So, or the biggest man here, because he's a leader of he's a speaker of Parliament. So, shouldn't he be the one to call the leaders that, guys, I'm ready, come for a business meeting? Or there's a set time. So, if it's 9 o'clock, the leaders will gather at his foyer or at his lobby, and then he allows them in. How does it work? Somebody must make a call.
Let me tell you, under normal circumstances, as soon as the Speaker arrives in his office, if you have anything to deal wait in Parliament or on the floor of Parliament, you go to him. Even before he comes to
the chamber.
You know, there are two offices for the Speaker.
Okay.
You have his main office and you have his lobby.
Okay.
In the lobby, where he sits there, you have the two leaders come to him and then they sit down and agree on how to run the business of the House. After which he now
proceeds to
the chamber. And after you finish with him, you walk into the chamber and wait for him. Then just less than 5 minutes after you've met him, then he will go. Now, before 10 o'clock, leaders often are there waiting to see him. And so if I have a business to do, I'm going to sit there and wait for the Speaker. I won't even wait for the Speaker to call me. In this particular sense, the Speaker sat there, nobody came around. He called, nobody responded. And then the new majority leader, not he himself, but the clerks would call them to come. Speaker is around, please.
And you have information that the clerk called Afenyo Markin and his people and they
couldn't get them.
They couldn't get them.
They couldn't get them. So the Speaker sat there alone. When it was time to move into the chamber, no business for him to do, the majority or minority leader who stipulated that the business, the House should sit, was available. Then he still went ahead and entered the chamber. I'm very, very disturbed and worried about the pronouncement made by Afenyo Markins, saying that...
We will come to that.
Yeah.
We'll come to those pronouncements.
Okay.
Doc Adonoo Kisi, you are in the I think majority. I mean, you are in the majority.
The ruling party.
Yeah, you're in the ruling party. You are in the ruling party. What happened? I mean, we were all waiting to see some business carried out on the day. Your guys didn't turn up. What happened?
First of all, let me take the opportunity to commend your news channel. I think many a times you are very fair and balanced, which is not something we should trample over. Let me also say that we are in very tough times based on the country's economy, based on the challenges we have with jobs, and based on the fact that we're coming out of a very downward turn in terms of economic performance after COVID. So we certainly are not in normal times, as the president of the country has told all of us. And also we must admit that we have a parliamentary situation that has never ever been the case in this country, specifically to have somebody, quote unquote, with opposition ideologies being your Speaker of Parliament, and to a large extent also having, let me say, at some point, a 137 situation. So we're in a very unique situation, something that I would say that the entire constitution left us, almost all the impossibles are happening now, you know, and it's as if we're riding on a cliff. But be it as it may, let me start off in a way from the genesis of all of this problem, and my take on it. I've said in many jurisdictions that, listen, if you look at this, though it is politics, based on my contractual knowledge, I haven't seen anybody being, as it is, punished for a future contract. It beats my mind. For instance, if I'm working with a company and then I give them notice that in 3 months I'll be working for a different company, and then that same day I get fired for informing my company that I'll be working with, you know, what they can do in such situations might agree to let you maybe get your salary and stay home. That is the least they can do. But to, as it is, tell me to vacate on notice of a future contract, which is not even guaranteed. In this case, it's like telling Messi to stop playing this match because he has a contract with another club, you know, 2 months or 3 months down the line. Based on these scenarios of the world, which we all live in, it beats my mind. And I appreciate the whole thing with regards to the parliamentary or the constitution with reference to members of parliament who would be asked to vacate. And I say with the greatest of respect that I personally feel that Professor Michael Oquaye Ed, I mean, I've said this very clearly on numerous accounts.
Almost every MPP MP now is saying Michael Oquaye Ed. But at the time, we didn't hear this.
Well, I was not in the
Parliament, yes. But almost everybody is saying Michael Oquaye Ed.
But looking at, I mean, listen, looking at the, like I'm saying here that, and if you listen carefully even to the Supreme Court, and how they carved out some of the wording, that you need to bear in mind that a member of parliament represents several thousands of people who stood in line and voted for the person. And for that matter, a removal, a vacation, or let me say, you know, an abrupt stop in the person's contribution to the constituency is tantamount to not, you know, respecting the rights of the individual voters who may have voted for that individual. Now, coming back to the key point, I think that if for...
No, just on that, of course, the matter is before the Supreme Court, so we should be careful our comments are not sub judice. But just to say, you know, a member of parliament shall vacate his seat in parliament if he was elected a member of parliament as an independent candidate and joins a political party. You join a political party when you pick up forms or when you express your intention of doing so. In the case of the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, he's now running on the ticket of the MPP. Non-members of a political party do not run on that party's ticket. In fact, political parties have rules that qualify people
but
to
political
run on their
parties'
ticket.
rules are not the Constitution.
Of course, we know, but the political parties spell out the rules
that bind
them and how somebody becomes a member.
But then they have a neck that gives room for exceptions.
Yes, but
so let's be mindful of that.
But you see, when he was submitting the forms, on the form he wrote MPP.
No, what I'm saying is that the in workings of any political party that allows for a candidate to run on that party's ticket is not subject necessarily to the constitution of this country. And what I'm saying is that for lack of a better word, if NEC of MPP or NEC of NDC decides that they will take somebody who's never said Eshi or never said Ezu to become their representative, we as a country or as a constitution cannot buy the person based on that party's constitution, except for the fact that because the party has its own rights to determine who they are bringing. So that is not, it's not you and I,
but the point
or whoever.
So in the case of Isiama, for example,
yeah,
he would have indicated on his nomination forms that he was a member of the MPP.
Oh, listen, I'm here to agree with you that as of, let's say today, whatever they've stated for their future, you know, and I tell this to people that, listen, I get on a bus to Kumasi, I decide to sit on the driver's side. From here to Kumasi, if I make a decision to change where I'm sitting, then they should vacate me. But when I tell you on that same bus that when we get to Kumasi, my trip from Kumasi to Sunyani, I'm going to sit on the maid side. And you tell me that because I have an intention to sit on the maid side from Kumasi to Sunyani, I should get off. Then that one, I'll say that you are adducing a very harsh judgment.
You know,
on
I
my
hear
part.
you on your commonsensical, you know,
and that is
analogy.
how the Constitution is a common sense thing.
Yeah, so
and I think it refers to the 8th Parliament or the specific Parliament.
What would then be the consequence if it's for a future Parliament? Then it shouldn't be vacated because
there's been scenarios in this country where members of a certain party decide during the parliamentary session. I mean, I think one classical one was where he decides that, unfortunately, because he wasn't fully aware or he didn't appreciate what was happening, when he crossed carpets, that was it.
And
then he had to, and that's how Inusa Fuseni came on board.
Yes,
you understand? So my key thing here is that.
So then he had decided.
The composition.
You already said he was MPP before, and then there were these Dagbon matters, and he became NDC.
Yes.
And then he came to Parliament.
And then
he realized he couldn't belong to the NDC, so he wanted to change again.
Yes, but then he had to.
So he changed.
So the composition of Parliament, when we entered Parliament, this 8th Parliament, that composition is what is used for all of our decision making. And I mean, former leader here knows that that composition is what helps us to determine whether the yeas have it or the noes have it. When the majority say that we are for this and that. And then it is that same composition that is used for every meeting and its auditing and accounting. Now, if for that configuration, you intend to make a change in that, and the fact that it would impact decisions about budget or whatever we do for this parliament, then I agree with you that you should vacate the person. But for a future, for instance, you know, as him and I are here, if he so much now loves the MPP and says that for the 10th parliament, he is going to run as an MPP, shall we then vacate him today? No, I mean, it's the same.
I get the point you're making.
So the 9th and the 10th are in the future.
The point you're also not understanding is that once you take up a form, then you would have changed your political party. So in the case of Isiama, right now, he's a member of the MPP. Okay?
Well,
and he has taken steps to actually get into the next parliament as an MPP person.
Yes, but he has also a commitment, a contractual commitment with Parliament that he'll be independent up to January 7th.
Yes, but he's not independent.
No. Who determines that?
No, but the law says that he's joined a political party. You see, so if this is the case, then there will hardly be a situation where people will vacate their seats.
So this comes back to my key question.
But you know what we are doing may be sub judice. So maybe let's move on, because the Supreme Court is with this.
Okay, but my key point is that why must a member of parliament suffer for, quote unquote, making a determination or a decision that, listen, I'm not entirely happy with my party's ethos now, and that for the next session I'm going to change. No, I mean, I'm just
changed, not the next session.
No,
the change has come.
That allowed him
the change has happened
to apply. But again,
my argument, you
can't. The matter is before, so we are getting into the merit of the case.
Anyway,
I don't think we have to do that yet.
My simple argument, though, is that we are where we are now, largely because 4 members of parliament have stated an intention to do business differently for the 9th parliament. And as such, we either have to use either a very barbaric way to make that determination, or to let reason guide us and allow for them to do what they are doing for a future parliament. And I really think that it is even so wrong for, quote unquote, a speaker of the 8th parliament to make determination about the futures of people in the 9th parliament. I think you are reaching way beyond.
It's not making
it's for this parliament.
Because he doesn't care about what happens. He won't care about what happens.
But you know, one of the beautiful things that the Chief Justice said about the weight, irreparable damages, and as we speak now, you and I do not know how this vacation, quote unquote, may impact adversely on these 4 members of parliament in terms of their political fortunes. And I think that as we stand, I mean, if I had funds, trust me, I would have had Isiama even file a suit against the 7th parliament, and for that matter, to Michael Okwe, for the irreparable damages that were adduced to him in the 7th parliament. And I really think that if the limitations are not...
He's a lawyer himself, he knows what to do.
If the limitations are not, over, in terms of, when the said crime was committed, I really think that some, quote unquote, Americans like suits. I think that some legal experts, there's a window of opportunity to really file a suit now for the vacation that was done to him. And if truly,
at the time he should have contested it, but he didn't.
If this was done then, trust me, like by now, this whole hula balloon would not have happened. And that is why I believe that what is happening today will be very useful for the future of governance, so that we'll be very clear in our mind this gray area of whether and Selorm, let me just be infantile here and just ask you, we come for a meeting, you are the said chairman for the meeting, and we're seated. We're doing the meeting as it has to happen, as a board chairman, whatever. Then I make a statement about, next year, this is what I think I'd like to do. I'll change companies. I want to go and work for. If it's maybe Valco, I want to work for Bui, and then board chairman gets upset that if you don't like ECG, then or VRA, then I've suspended you from our meetings.
Yeah, but you see,
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
but you see, we are guided by rules. If the rules of the company or the constitution of the company or the regulations, whatever, say that you cannot work for a competitor maybe a year or 2 years after leaving.
Then we have to stay declared in the...
Yes, so that's what the Constitution has sought to do.
No,
but which has become subject
there's
of
a limitation there.
That's become subject of interpretation.
There's a limitation
so
there, whether
it's
stated, in reference to...
Exactly, so that's why it's contentious now.
Whether it's in reference to the current...
So that's what the Supreme Court to do.
Or the future citizen.
Yes, that's what the Supreme Court to do. So I mean, we'll see.
But you see, the commitment that we make, you have to ask the individual members of parliament that, listen, are you still committed with the majority side till January 7th?
But he'll say yes.
Or not. I'm just saying that then really
is
not
necessary.
Because the person wants to be there. The person wants to continue benefiting from emoluments, etc. So the person will say yes.
2 months.
Of course. I mean, there are things being an MP close you with, immunities, etc. The person will want it. So the person will say yes. Who doesn't want good things? Or
but I really, took the words of the CJ. I must say, and in law and in many things, is a cost-benefit analysis. The graveness of the adverse impact on the constituency should be weighed as opposed to what you claim to be a need to vacate the people. And I really think that a very classic example still is the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, the second deputy, in the sense that, look at the things that it triggers. Supposing, and she said it rightly, that supposing that the person is a minister of state or a minister for some ministerial, position.
But even that point is because
I'm just saying. She said it.
Yeah, she said it, but it doesn't make it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. I can be a minister without being a member of the party.
I understand you, but
so that point she made. Really,
I'm only referring to the CJ here in the sense that if you have something by virtue of the arrangement or your current position as a member of parliament, then the triggers. And I really think that looking at governance as a whole, within the next just 2 months, I mean, what real benefit will it benefit the government for vacation of 4 members of parliament in some time to come? Who knows? It might be 8 or 20. I'm just making a very wild assumption, but I can make this because from 1 now it is 4.
Yeah.
And I think
the way we resolve this will
and you and I have to fight for the rights of the downtrodden. And let me be very categorical here. Many a time, the downtrodden or the supposed radical members of parliament are the people who are maybe fighting for a very peculiar, powerful cause. And let me be very serious about that, because I believe that if Ghana, we don't fight for, quote unquote, those who are the whistleblowers and things like that, we stand to lose in terms of our transparency in this country, accountability. So I would really encourage, quote unquote, those who say they are for human rights and things, that this should be looked at with that lens of the fact that many at times you might have that Julian Assange, who's that one person who's becoming independent or who's becoming, moving from one party to another party for a very critical reason or issue, which might be largely in the interest of the nation, but people might not appreciate it. And that is why that I believe that in the interest of transparency, in the interest of supporting and encouraging and empowering members of parliament for their independence in terms of their liberal approach to thinking and to stand for what they think is right, we need to empower members of parliament, and we need to protect any member of parliament who wishes to, at some point, change his affiliation.
Let me make a point here.
Interesting.
Very important.
Because this is a very dangerous point we are
Franklin, could you on the line? Franklin, you're welcome to the program. I wanted to take Franklin so that we... Franklin, welcome. Interestingly, today the show is filled with doctors. You are the only one who is not a doctor. I'm sure in due course we may start calling you doctor someday. But you're welcome to the program.
But Franklin should be coming here Tell him that I want him.
Frankly, he's a huge guy. He used to come.
I know. I mean, many times he's
until COVID. So frankly, that's your call. What's your summary of what happened this week? Speaker again indefinitely adjourning the House. People have thought that Speaker could have waited for the majority side or Afenyomakin side to come in and all of that, but he decided to. Others also said, okay, you call the House, you recall the House, you should be there. If a student is ready, the teacher appears, that kind of thing. What's your summary of it?
Well, again, good morning to my good friends in the studio, to you yourself, Selorm. Look, I don't know why we are entertaining this grand cantate. I mean, look, if the majority side believes that there's urgency and we need to do business, what's this nomenclature of minority majority? Frankly, I don't even see it any longer. Look, because at the end of the day, even if you were a minority, right, assuming that with the so-called status that is supposed to stay, and you're a minority, when you get into parliament, in any case, frankly, I don't even, the point I'm making is that I don't see it, because at the end of the day, you guys are going to be the ones going to, should I say, introduce those bills or whatever they want to, the business of the day and all of that. And I think the Speaker did say that, look, he doesn't have, there's no business before them. I would have thought that the best thing to have been done was for the majority side to actually go to Parliament and then listen to the Speaker, right? Maybe they could raise a point of order that, look, Mr. Speaker, we still want you to pronounce on this matter of majority-minority. Maybe yes, but you didn't go to the chamber. And now you're accusing Speaker of all kinds of things. And on this one, I disagree with my good friend Afenyomakin. I think leadership should have been shown by he getting into Parliament with his troops or with his colleagues, and then making the case. If you went in and then you were shoved aside, then maybe yes, you probably go back to the courts or whatever it is. We are wasting time. We are wasting too much time. Unless, of course, the business that's left doesn't really matter. In any case, I've had $300-something million of cities for exemptions. Something that I always disagree with, because I think this is a political arrangement, chronic capitalist arrangement to give favorite operations and business people all this tax credit, and the politician goes to collect with the other hand. Whatever it is, unless, of course, they are telling me that the business left will be done as an unserious one, well, then they are continue playing this game. Because, look, at the end of the day, one party, whatever it is, Charlie Selorm, this is not bringing us any light. It's not moving us forward. There are serious issues they're dealing with daily. And I thought that Parliament should be the last place where this comedy of errors really is being entertained. Frankly, I'm not. I feel even. It's not the word angry. I feel annoyed actually discussing this matter. This is a very trivial matter. If you ask me, so trivial that I don't think there's what they call a constitutional crisis. Who says there's a constitutional crisis? Over what? Over nomenclature? Over names? In any case, what are these names meant for anyway? I mean, Charlie, people they move forward, they do this kind of name thing, honorable this, honorable. People are thinking about going to places and you are fighting over names? Really? Oh, Charlie, I'm surprised and disappointed at the same time. I mean, that's just my summary. I feel strongly that the whole thing is becoming a huge jokery, and I call on my good friend Afenyomakin and his opposite number to Jojo and then get this matter solved. This matter should not have even gone to court. For crying out loud. I mean, what is this? The thing that people, the other day I pointed out to you that this whole thing started because of the indiscipline of a few people who went party elections, they lost, and then they said they were going independent. I mean, what is that? Right? I think we should also be addressing that issue. But frankly, it's annoying to think that you decided that you lost power, you lost your elections, you decided to go independent, but you still want to be benefiting from the system that gave you this opportunity to even attempt to go independent. Can you imagine that the system that gave you birth to you which is your mother party, which you have ditched, by the way, by your actions. Now they are telling us that because your umbilical cord is still tied to the old, mother, therefore, as it is, you would have a new mother. How to call it in the next year? So you should still be tied to the umbilical cord of the old mother, while you still find means and ways of eating from the womb of the new mother. I mean, what is this? This whole thing doesn't make sense to me. I don't even understand it, and frankly, many Ghanaians do not understand it. Ghanaians are even fed up, really. That the issues that sent them really are not this. When they did Afrobarometer and all those surveys. Well, I mean, this particular issue about Parliament and its sovereignty and whatever happens, it wasn't even an issue, right? Even though people said Parliament had issues, I don't think these issues about infighting, which some are allowed, should be occupying our minds and our time, really. I'm so annoyed, really, discussing this matter seriously.
I see. That's Franklin. Franklin is not seeing the importance of this matter. I think you're wasting time, but that's fine. You wanted to make a point, Doc.
Yeah. My colleague appeared to be a little confused about the issue. First of all, when he sat here, he said, how can the punishment be in the future? And that was a very legitimate question, that if the Constitution prescribes a punishment for somebody moving from a party to another, or from a party to an independence, the Constitution says, this is what will happen to you. And you are saying it's in the future. What future? How can the Constitution be predicting a future punishment for somebody who has done something presently?
But the point is that the action he has taken now does not affect this Parliament. They are seeking to go independent in another
for
Parliament.
Them, but not to the people. The people want them to be there for 4 years. Look, let me tell you the reason.
They are there for the people.
No, they are not there for the people now. The Constitution, the reason why this thing is put in the Constitution is that in the past, in the 1969 Constitution, it was allowed for people to cross carpet. So government would be there, like 137 members, and the next day, 7 people will say they are crossing carpet. It will bring the government down. And there was this cross carpet everywhere. Now the Constitution says, look, let's correct this thing. Let's deter people who say they want to cross carpet. Once you cross carpet, you are no longer a member of Parliament. In deterrence of the situation that will allow people to disrupt the system.
Parliament.
To disrupt the system. So they are now saying, look, in order for you to cross carpet, to say you are no longer a member, you will have to leave government. So people would hold up.
Or leave Parliament.
Yeah, so they will now stay away from it. So they can only say they are crossing carpet at the tail end, so that they won't, at which time, when they say government is getting to an end, so even if I sack myself from Parliament, it doesn't matter. And it is very surprising for anybody to say, oh, the people will suffer. Look, if a thief goes to your house to steal something, the consequences on it is in the Criminal Act. And then they take you on based on the rules of the criminal, the law, that when you steal, they will prosecute you and imprison you for 2 years. Now they are about to imprison you. Then somebody say, oh, he has wife and children, they will suffer. What stupidity is that? Once you determine you know yourself that Article 97 G and H are saying if you cross carpet, you will leave Parliament. Then somebody will say that, oh, if they lose, their people will suffer. What is that? As if you didn't know that this is going to happen. You know that when you leave, you'll be taken out of Parliament. So the consequence is on your people, and your people. So you have to protect your people by staying there. Now the fact is
the wisest of today.
The fact is that, let me tell you, I heard you talking about the fact that, oh, you see, it's for the future. This one is nothing like that. The conviction of the Assin-North MP, James Jechikwesin. Do you know why he was convicted? They said at the time he was filling the form for the Electoral Commission, he did not receive a letter from Canada saying that his citizenship has been withdrawn. He didn't receive the letter, but he indicated...
No, it's not been convicted. The criminal matter is still ongoing.
Yes. So no. It's not about It's not about a criminal matter now. It's about, is it a civil matter? The one that withdrew him from Parliament.
Yes, that's a civil matter.
That's a civil matter. He suffered the consequence of it based on the fact that he did not... He could not say that. He could not say that because he filled the form and indicated he was a non-citizen, of Canada, he was wrong. Now somebody has filled a form now, and it is published that I'm no longer a member of NDC or MPP. I'm now an independent candidate, and you are saying you should wait for the future.
In fact, in the notice
why
of
do you
poll,
prosecute somebody?
MPP will be on their side. On the symbol will be MPP.
Why? Why did you make the law catch somebody for indicating that he hadn't even contested the elections yet, and yet the law caught up with him? Now somebody has also indicated he hasn't contested the election yet, but he has demonstrated that he's no longer an NDC or NPP. So please, don't go there.
So I appreciate the fact that you're saying that there can be polygamous party affiliation.
It is not. I'm not saying it. It's the Constitution that is saying it. But I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to go into.
I'm not a lawyer too.
I don't want to go into the issue where the Supreme Court members at the Supreme Court is already taking their stance.
So I want us to be guided. The fact that the Supreme Court is seized with the matter, so that we
So let's not go into that area. But there's an issue about what Afenyo Makin said and what Katie, and you said I should wait. Should I still wait?
No. So let me speak to Dr. Osai Kwapo of the CDD just to take his preliminary comments as well. Doc, welcome to the program. How have you been?
Thank you very much. Good morning. I've been well.
Great. I know you've been following matters in Ghana and all of that. You saw what happened this week. Earlier, Speaker addressed Parliament. He said quite a few things about the implication on governance. He doesn't feel very comfortable with how the Supreme Court pronounces. And in fact, he went ahead to allege that the Supreme Court and the President or the Executive were colluding to weaken Parliament. I'll deal with you on that. Do you think that the circumstances of this matter in the end will weaken Parliament, or you think it is actually strengthening the governance structure and system of our country?
Thank you very much. Good morning to your guest in the studio. As for Franklin Kujo, I won't greet him this morning. He's too happy about the outcome of the American elections, so I won't greet Franklin. But, depending on how the crisis is resolved or how the situation is resolved, I think is what would either make Parliament stronger or would chip away, at the strength of Parliament. I've been saying that for me, my worry is I hope that when the court makes a determination on the substantive question before them, which is what is the true meaning and interpretation of 97(1)(g) and H, they would find a way to only address that substantive question. It means X or it means Y, without delving into the process that Parliament went through as per the Speaker to arrive at the declaration of those seats and vacant. And I say that because we keep saying, and you often would hear Parliament assert that it is master of its own rules. Nobody determines for Parliament how it goes about its business and how it conducts its business. And that's true. Parliament is also an independent and a co-equal branch of government. That's true as well. But my worry about this impasse is that ultimately, when it is resolved by the court, I hope it is not done in a way that now even how Parliament conducts its own business becomes something that Parliament itself does not fully determine, but another, branch of government gets to have a say in how Parliament conducts its business. Yes, it doesn't mean that if Parliament does something that offends the Constitution, then we cannot go to, the court to say, is this right or is this wrong? But for me, that is my expectation and hope that it is resolved so that you can preserve the strength and the independence of Parliament.
I see. That's interesting. Do you think that, because people have said the Speaker didn't have to adjourn the House indefinitely, people think the Speaker could have waited for the majority guys? Others also said, no, you call the House, so you recall the House, you should be available, etc. What do you make of all of that? It's all politics, though, but what do you make of all of that?
Yes, and I was a little a little disappointed in what happened on Thursday because I would like to believe that our honorables have worked, some of them have worked long enough with each other. I want to believe that they know each other even on a personal basis beyond the work they do in Parliament. They have good friendships. You often hear them, even in their disagreements, refer to each other as my good friend, my good friend. So I was hoping that between the decision that was made to get enough signatures for a recall and Thursday, that enough conversations would have gone on in the background to come up with some diplomatic resolution to say that, look, we may have some deep disagreements, but there are issues that would be helpful if we can address them. We are waiting for the court to rule. We understand all of that. But can we, in the spirit of whatever spirit you call on, can we resolve this so on Thursday when we arrive, we can conduct the business of the House? That was my expectation. But when you look at the public rhetoric of some of the key faces and voices of the two parties, it just appears that both have taken very entrenched positions and keep digging in. And I guess what we have to wait for now is the ruling from the court and then a response from the Speaker in Parliament in terms of what they do about the ruling. I do not anticipate that, for example, if the court rules that the seats cannot be declared vacant, that the Speaker of the House would ignore the courts and ignore, that final rule. I don't think he would do that. But the politics is getting very, very entrenched. Everyone is really digging in. But I still think that, look, they can pull some of these soft power levers of the friendships, the relationships they built over the years to find a way out of this, because both sides also recognize that there are important things that they would like to do, important business that they would like to conduct.
I see. That's interesting. This is a big issue on 97.3 City FM, also on Channel 1 television, also on our social media handles. We are happy to hear from you. You can join the discussion by texting to the numbers on your screen, and we'll be happy to read your comments to the rest of the world. My guest this morning, Dr. Rashid Purple, Member of Parliament for Wa Central, Dr. Dixon Adumaku Kisi, MP Anyaso Otum, Dr. John Osai Kwapon, who you just heard speak. He's a CDD fellow, he's a political scientist, and Franklin Kujo, President of Imani Africa. I'll take a short break. When I come back, we'll now deal with some of the specifics that were raised. Don't go away.
Another morning, another day filled with possibilities. My old car reflects my journey, and today could be the day I take a big step forward. Anything is possible. Just think about it.
My shelves are ready to be filled, and soon the flat rate will open up exciting new opportunities. I can already envision a vibrant shop bustling with customers, all eager to discover what I have to offer.
I feel optimistic about import costs. Why? Because with DMB flat duty rates, my expenses will be more manageable. I can see my business thriving.
Every moment spent with my son brings back wonderful memories.
I tell you, my son, with my digital skills, now one can create games in a website.
Esuro, boot number 1 on the ballot.
Have not shown sign of settling down.
Oh, you don't mean it. Power to deliver disability.
I might have a solution. You take this and spray it twice. Shake the gentleman. Place it on your lips and say the magic word. Yes. You, my darling, are unlucky in life.
The Speaker has made a ruling barring them from coming to the Parliament. Supreme Court is reversed it. It is for the Speaker to sit up there and tell the House that his decision has been reversed, and so we
How will it be reversed if you are not seated? Honorable, you say you are going to cite the Speaker for contempt. That is not properly convened. I mean, you are going how would the Speaker reverse his decision?
Again, I'm saying that you either want to take leave of your senses or you listen to what I am saying. If you are not prepared to listen to what I'm saying and just listen to your own voices, we are not going to get anywhere. Look at the paucity of cameras. Everybody is listening, but you don't seem to be listening and concentrating on what I'm saying. It is not a question of our presence in there or not. It is for the Speaker. If it is only about 100 people who are coming to the room there, minority and the majority will constitute the composition of the House in its entirety. Which never comes in there, provided that we have enough to constitute the House and then start business of the House, we should do it. So even if we had 99, which is 1/3 of what to form the quorum, it was for the Speaker to make the announcement in the House that his ruling has been stayed, has been overset. Accordingly, minority back to where you were, majority back to where you have been. That is the simplest solution that we're talking about.
You say you're going to cite him for contempt.
Yes.
When are you doing this?
Watch the space.
Watch the space. I mean, finally, the Speaker says that the majority has failed to convene the business meeting yesterday,
you see,
so that they can put the business for this emergency.
I keep saying that first things first. First is for the Speaker to declare in that House the same way as Cathedral, the same way he did to make that. Well, you can keep on making that foolish statement. It doesn't take you anywhere. But what it is that it is for the Speaker to sit up there and make the pronouncement that the Supreme Court is already overset his decision, and accordingly we should come back and sit where we sit. Then the business of the House begins.
Just briefly.
Wow. So, Honorable K.T. Amon addressing the press there on what just transpired in Parliament. He makes the point that the Speaker of Parliament doesn't have the constitutional, is not mandated by the Constitution to...
All right, so that's K.T. Amon there in that interview with journalists, and our own Jude Mensah Duncan was there as well. And Jude Mensah Duncan is my producer. I need to stay there for the records, one of my producers. So, I mean, all of that. Let me start off with you. The Speaker, after meeting the House, I think the House had more than 99 people, all of that, 1/3, etc. Didn't he have to make that statement that, okay, the Supreme Court has said this ABC, so this is what the situation is now, before he goes ahead to say there's no business before us? He didn't say anything about the Supreme Court. That appears to be the concern of the majority or the MPP guys.
Well, first of all, it must be properly understood that the House was not properly constituted.
He didn't have a quorum to do business?
No quorum to do business.
No, I thought he didn't have quorum to make decision.
To take a decision.
Yes, but this comment.
And no, that's why the Speaker did not at this time use the quorum to do business, but he uses what is before him. Now, if you call a meeting of Parliament and there's no agenda, no business in the House, what does the Speaker, what would he do? He would simply say, well, they have invited you here, I don't have any business to do, so you go back home. When there is business to do and the Speaker is meeting Parliament made up of the two sides, he can open Parliament and then he can make a statement. Now, you can't be opening Parliament where Parliament is not seated properly.
No, but are you saying that if a situation arose and let's say one of the sides boycotted the House,
yes,
and there is enough members to do business, Speaker will not go ahead and work?
Speaker definitely will go ahead and work at a point, but where in a special situation, special circumstances, in such a situation where there's controversy, there's disagreement, there's conflict, there's non-concession, there's no
middle ground.
Yes, there are no issues that can bring us together. The Speaker cannot forge anything. In fact, it is part of the rule, the way by which Speaker can bring us together. That's why he keeps postponing, to give us reason for us to go and talk behind the scenes and come back to the House, in a manner that will allow him to take a decision and to make a statement. Let me tell you, When the Speaker made that statement and then indicated, according to Article 97, that those 4 members were no longer members of Parliament, it became a ruling. Now it's still a ruling in Parliament. It is the Speaker again who will come and make a statement that they are members of Parliament. How do we do it? Let's look at how it first happened when the 4 members of Parliament signed for the other party. It's not the Speaker who generated the idea. The House is moved by the leadership or the members of Parliament. It is a member of Parliament who made a statement. That's a minority, the present majority leader, Atu Forson. He made a statement and said, look, Mr. Speaker, 4 members of Parliament have shifted their positions. And I have a conviction, according to 97 G and H.
1 G and H.
Yeah, that these 4 guys would no longer be a member of Parliament, as stipulated in the Constitution. The Speaker then picked it up and said, look, give me some time, I'll take 2 days to get a ruling. And then he came to rule. Now, if Speaker comes into the office, at least even the majority leader, former majority leader, what's his name? Afenyo Markins, were in the House. Like even 5 people sit in the House, then raise an issue and tell Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to make a statement, and it is allowed. For any business to take place, you are allowed, there's a space for you to make a statement according to our standing orders. You don't even need to notify the Speaker. You can rise and make that statement. He's a leader. Once he rises, the Speaker gives him the opportunity. He can rise and say that there is, Mr. Speaker, I'm drawing your attention to the ruling by the Supreme Court on the issue of the 4 members of Parliament who you announced are no longer members of Parliament according to the constitutional ruling, the constitutional provision. Then the Speaker will now say, I'm making a fresh statement, and then he will rule. First of all, the person speaking will move a motion that these 2 people, according to the Supreme Court ruling, would become members of Parliament and will be allowed to come into Parliament. Let the Speaker say no. Then you can cite the Speaker as violating the Supreme Court ruling, or what K.T. Amon said,
contempt,
as being contempt of Parliament. K.T. Amon is a lawyer, but he doesn't speak law when it comes to these things. And I think I will advise him to do so, because people follow him. Don't go and talk about Speaker's contempt when you haven't done the right thing in the chamber. The Speaker cannot sit on his own and say, oh, I have got this thing. Everything now we hear about the Supreme Court ruling is in the media. There must be a ruling. The ruling must be communicated formally to the House by the Speaker, and the Speaker, based on that, can make a fresh pronouncement. And who draws the attention to the Speaker to that? The members. They will draw the attention of the Speaker to that. The Speaker will say, I have also, or the Speaker can even announce and say, I have received a ruling by the Supreme Court posted to me based on this, that. So all these things will have to be done in a very formal and procedural manner. I started by saying Parliament is ruled by procedure, it's ruled by the law, and it's ruled by precedent. So it's important for the members to take note of this. But I also took note of Afenyo Markins talking about the Speaker as presiding over the chaos in the House, and it's very, very disturbing to hear him say that. When he has not done what he should be doing, he should be able to speak to his colleagues.
But there's chaos in the House, obviously.
He's not the one doing it.
He thinks Speaker should call the sides to order.
But how will the Speaker do it if you are not cooperating?
The Speaker could call him.
The Speaker may not call him. He is the leader of government business. He should fight to get his business on board. The Speaker is not in charge of government business. The Speaker doesn't take sides. He sits there for you to bring up the issues. The Speaker, he can go to the Speaker, mobilize forces, go to the Speaker, speak with him, set his agenda. If you call the business committee meeting at any time, they will attend. 10 minutes to Parliament sitting, they will go. 20 minutes to Parliament sitting, they will go. I have done that several times. I was a deputy chairman of the business committee once upon a time. And so he had a way of getting the business committee come to say that, look, these are the 3 businesses we want the Speaker to do. And nobody will say no to that, because normally we agree with him. Then he takes it back, announce it to the House. The Speaker will call him when the House says, and then he will tell the Speaker, this is the business of the House.
I spoke to Habib, who is the Deputy Majority Chief Whip, and he says that there was no point in the Business Committee meeting because...
By which law?
There was no point because normally Business Committee will meet on Friday and all of that. So this one was just a one-off.
It still doesn't
The Parliament
matter.
was recalled, just a one-off. And so everybody knew what the business was.
I have gone for a Business Committee meeting 2 hours to Parliament sitting on a call like this. And then we set the agenda and then go into the chamber. You can't do things without rules. You can't do things without the law, without the order. There's no order in business in the House that tells you that, oh, this one is because it's one day, you can just go in and do it. It's wrong.
I see.
It's not done. It's not done anywhere. I've never seen it, in fact. And there's no law or no standing order that has indicated that you can say because it's just a one-day sitting, there was no need to spell out business. And then the Speaker will come and do what?
I see.
And you are not there to even draw attention to the Speaker, that we are the masters of our own rules, Mr. Speaker, even though we've not brought business, but we will want you to move that, we accept this, so we can move on. If you do that, the Speaker has the right to change the order of business or to set the order of business according to a conviction he believes in. That has not happened. You can't call a business. You are not in the House. And you are accusing the Speaker for being chaotic or for presiding over chaos.
I think his
He
reference
should
to
withdraw
the
that.
chaos, his reference to the chaos was in respect of the arrangement, the sitting arrangement. What we all know is orderly, that the majority sits here, the minority sits here. Of course, the Speaker says he doesn't determine that. But that is what he means by chaos, because there was chaos in how people would sit. You guys
He's accusing the Speaker of presiding over chaos. If he says we are to be accused for sitting for being chaotic in Parliament, that's a different matter.
But the Speaker is presiding over it. He's the one who sits up there.
But that
so
shouldn't
if
be
the
an
children are being
accusation.
chaotic and the big man is not saying anything, the big man is in agreement with the chaos.
Before the Speaker can say anything, we have to set a certain forum for him to do. And he's a leader and to be able to do that. He should be able to, speak to each other. What is wrong if you even come and sit in the minority place and then bring up the issue of the Supreme Court ruling and ask the Speaker to do the ruling so that they can change? And let the Speaker refuse. You cite him for contempt. You cite him for presiding over chaos or etc., etc. You've done nothing like that. You go out, you are standing behind the scenes, and then you are accusing somebody who has done nothing wrong. So far, the Speaker has done nothing wrong. He's just doing his job as a Speaker. And I think the two of them should withdraw what they have said.
I see.
Yes.
What's wrong with the MPP side, the majority, for a while or for a moment, sitting where the minority guys sit to raise the issue? Now, everything is being thrown back at you because you failed to get into the House. You can only raise the issues when you are in the House.
Yes.
When you raise the issue, let's see what Speaker will say. Speaker, have you been, we are aware of a Supreme Court decision, you are a party, we understand you've been served. Can you confirm, please, whether you've been served or not? Speaker will say something. Speaker, once you said you've been served, what's the direction for the House, given the fact that the Supreme Court has said you should stay your decision, and given the fact that your attempt to vacate the Supreme Court decision failed? What is the direction for the House? The Speaker would have been forced to say something, but you were not there. So the point is that because you were not there, you failed to extract from the Speaker that comment. And so the Speaker said there was no business before him, so he adjourned the House. People think that your side dropped the ball a bit. Do you agree?
Well, let me, as it is, admit one unfortunate thing, which I think is belaboring all of this. At some point in time, we all become a bit partisan. And I respect the Speaker a lot.
You think he's been partisan?
But I think that some of his decisions are being colored by his party affiliation. And I won't fault him for that. He's been with the party for several decades, even before my birth. So I won't fault him for that. And as human as we are, whether we like it or not, I think that even though God Almighty at some point chose sides between Lucifer and Jesus Christ. So we all at some point, when pushed to the wall, will bring to bear our partiness. And if we had a speaker who'd never been in any party before, then I would say that, I'm not saying he's being partisan. But this is a case that this is a very respected man whose affiliation, ethos, water, his vein is pumped heavily, forgive me, with, NDC. And
but it's been the case throughout, actually.
No, I'm just citing the fact that, the very powerful judicial mindset rise above sometimes even the thinking of the time to make decisions. And I must say, from my infantile knowledge of law and opinions of Supreme Court justices, quote unquote, judges, who rose above their time and affiliations to make rulings, judgments that have stood the test of time. I must say that at this point, I'm troubled and almost in tears to say that I was really hoping that he would have right the wrong that Professor Michael Okoye did. That is my thinking. And I think that our current speaker missed the opportunity, really based on his many numerous submissions, where he's corrected other speakers because he thought they were wrong in their decision making.
Yeah, but this one, he thinks Speaker Okoye was right.
No, that's what I'm saying, that based on this,
You say Okoye was wrong. You shouldn't have said he's right.
No, what I'm saying is that I have sat in that room and heard the current speaker correct other erroneous thinking of other speakers from the past. I mean, Joe, what was his, is that Adaho or I forgot? Ajaho. There are some decisions he made that speaker either agree or disagreed with, and he states it categorically. So I was really thinking that in the interest of the future, the speaker would have, because I mean,
I don't know any decision by Joe Ajaho that he corrected.
So you would say that over the past 8 years, the speaker has never commented on a thinking of a former speaker that he thought was not right. Even the entire current configuration that has been changed in terms of our working document is largely because he felt that there were some issues with the standing orders that we're using. True or false? You understand? And by this current configuration, literally obliterates all the other things that we're doing, where now even a party in opposition can chair certain committees. I mean, it's futuristic, very innovative.
So these are rules.
Coming back to
these are rules
to Thursday, coming back to Thursday, and hear me out, Honourable. Coming back to Thursday, I've been in this country where, and forgive me for saying this, we've had to wait for somebody to arrive at the airport sometimes at 2 p.m. before we go and sit in the chamber. I wouldn't mention names. I've sat here, and for medical reasons, we waited for some people to delay decisions in the chamber. And Dr. Rashid Pelpo, if not being partisan, can admit that there's been issues that we've had to wait for resolution as late as sometimes 10 p.m. before we go and take action in the chamber.
I can agree with you.
And I really think that for the gravity, enormity, and the current situation we find ourselves in this country, I respectfully can categorically say that I'm deeply hurt. And I won't even mention the fact that some members of parliament were in air coming to Ghana because of the recall, only to be told mid-air that, hey, Speaker has ruled and your journey back to Ghana was unnecessary. You know, changing one flight today is worth several thousands of dollars. And if we knew that the Speaker was going to adjourn again, many members of parliament who are seeking health in Germany and other places for various heart conditions would not have come down, you know. And I really think that is very unfortunate. And let me even add that others traveling from Tamale to Accra, should they have had an accident, you know, for quote unquote, a very unnecessary, you know, beginning of Parliament. It would have been very unfortunate. So I think that based on the experience I have, little experience in Parliament, where we've waited for frivolous reasons, and I must say, I can cite even, excuse me to say, somebody was waiting for medication before he came to Parliament. You know, we've waited for things like that. So why couldn't we have waited even past 2?
But the people were nowhere to be found. If you knew, listen, so you waited because you knew where the people were.
And let me say that, you know, politics and even legal work is based on postures. And I think that, in all honesty, looking at the arguments that the Speaker made a day prior to, which I also thought was a bit egregious, because I would have preferred, and I respect the Speaker, I would have preferred that some of his orations prior to Thursday, he could have just, you know, literally made some of these comments right in the chamber without doing this whole presser about it. And I have a problem.
No, he needed to state his view to the public.
So my whole thing is that, one, I mean, the public doesn't vote for any Speaker of Parliament. Let's be very mindful of that. And your audience, the Speaker's audience, largely, I mean, and I've seen how judges have restrained themselves from going to the media, and judges do that for a reason, so that their reverence would be given to them.
But the terms of reference for a judge very different from that of the MP.
No, I'm just saying that
the Speaker's weight is a politician. The chamber is a political crucible.
Yes, but the Speaker is not going for an election, is he?
Yeah, but
except for the fact that you are telling me today, Selorm, that the Speaker is working largely, you know, to sway public perception for some other party.
No, he's trying to assert,
you know,
the authority of the institution he serves. And if you've spoken to Speaker Babin, I think he's one of those guys like Alajite, who are strong on the independence of Parliament. And when he feels,
do it in the right way.
So that's what he did on the day. When he feels that the public needs to understand
the Speaker's,
position in respect of the other arms of government, with the public, we are happy to hear him speak.
I appreciate that angle, but I think it can also be done differently.
Very well.
And to conclude on this issue, I think that, like I said, we've waited for many reasons. And I think that, and you know,
but you don't seem to be placing any blame on your side.
No, I'm not. Am I placing the blame on the Speaker?
No. You said you could have waited.
No, I think yes.
But how about your side that failed to turn up?
Well, let me add this, that unless I'm not aware of this, but every time we have a caucus meeting, the Speaker is informed.
But this one,
when the NDC has a caucus meeting, the Speaker is informed, and this will not be the first time that the MPP may have a caucus meeting, that because of that, the Speaker respectfully would have been asked to please wait for the MPP caucus. You understand? Yeah. So I think that as I sit here, I haven't spoken to my leadership to be able to say or ascertain if the Speaker's office, and hear me, I'm using my words correctly. I'm not saying the Speaker. If the Speaker's office was well informed that
because
the
we
New
heard
Patriotic
from, we heard
Party's
from Kennedy Japan, who said that what they should have perhaps informed the Speaker.
No, I mean, he is also talking from...
But he was in that meeting. No, he was in that so-called caucus meeting.
No, what I'm saying is that the meeting that was occurring, which is the MPP caucus meeting, quote unquote, we are unable to ascertain whether the Speaker's office...
No, but are you not sure that, well, given all that Afenyomakin said on the day, if the Speaker's office was informed, he wouldn't have said so? That they even communicated to the Speaker's office officially?
No, the non-communication does not make it, valid. I mean, I'll plead with you.
Yes, but I'm saying that.
So I'm saying
the Speaker expected you to be...
Let me add this, that, listen, though I'm not NDC, when their caucus is meeting, I don't need a file or a soothsayer to tell me that NDC caucus is meeting. I know some of their cards, and when I see a cluster of about 20 NDC cards, I know that something is happening. So I mean, that is how we operate, and sometimes it is not communicated, but we know.
No, but in this case, two things in this case. One, you are not meeting at the usual place. So if the caucus meeting is in Job 600 and the meeting is at the conference center, you may not see it. Of course, some of your members, the Apia Kubi had no information about this so-called caucus meeting. Atachia had no information. So they came to the new chamber. They came to the conference center venue and saw nobody was there. They said they were going to find out.
The time changed.
The other point is that this assumption could be valid if we're in normal times. Now you don't agree that both sides are entrenched in their position. Everybody trying to flex their muscles. That, I'm doing this by law. This one I'm doing this by law. The law says this. So speaker these are things you'd expect reasonable people.
This is a war of the roses.
Yes, reasonable people to do. Okay, they are not here. We assume they are here. Can you call to see where they are? These are things you do. But when we are operating in silos, nobody's talking to the other. Then we all play the way we know how to play it once it's within the confines of the law. That is what has happened. And that the public or the state has lost.
I was really hoping that, the speaker, and I'm saying this in a very humble tone, that the speaker, based on prior experience where we've waited for him to even finish other parliamentary businesses outside of Parliament, for a business to start.
I wanted to ask him, would they have come into the chamber?
I think that the issue or the contentious thing, and let me be very frank here, that the leadership of our caucus wanted to be very sure in their mind with regards to the speaker, if he was going to do the requirement of the Supreme Court, which is the state.
Yeah, so the point is,
and let me add that he knows very well that when they sit for the business meeting, things are determined before they come to the plenary. When that determination is not done, it is very difficult to then move the next step. So the posture of the speaker, I think, unfortunately, and let me, reading through the fine lines of his commentary the day before, tempers were not where they should be. And we need to admit that in all of this, our work, sometimes the delays allow tempers to come down. I saw in one of the articles that the Council of State visited him to George Joy and things like that. So who knows what was going to come in between our caucus meeting and solutions that were proffered by the caucus as to who were going to be appointed to go and see the speaker. And let me add that, these are discussions that were ongoing as to which people would have gone, because as it's in plain and clear sight, maybe the speaker necessarily doesn't want to even engage with, maybe one of our leaders at this point. I'm just making a pronouncement. And for that matter, the caucus would have maybe done another delegation and said that, okay, so and so should come together, go and see the speaker. And for one last time, let's be clear with the speaker that we are tabling this on the agenda for today. And as part of it, the first order of business, we want the speaker to rescind his.
Yeah, but that wasn't done.
No, I'm saying that this is and it is it's not unusual for this to have been done around 3, 4, knowing what I've experienced
but the
in
meeting
Parliament.
was called for 10 o'clock.
Listen, he knows. The parliamentary 10 o'clock can sometimes be 2 p.m.
That's when there's agreement. But you see, how were they to say that, okay, the time is changed when you are not there? To help make the decision.
They were there. And I really think that...
but let me this other point too. Why wouldn't you go to the chamber? The people are sitting at your place. Listen, get into the chamber and raise the issue.
The last time we were in the chamber before I left, both NDC and MPP were seated on the same side.
You could have done
I'm just saying. But I think, this dissonance cannot necessarily continue. We need to be very clear in our mind. It's not a joking matter, and it's not a joking sitting. You understand? The configuration in Parliament is very directly correlated to all decisions that are made. And when they say you're at the table of men, or for that matter, when you're at the table, the configuration matters. You know, and those Ghanaians who love soccer, Maza, you can't put a defensive guy as a striker unless he's very good. You know, and that is what it means. We can't just go and sit. We can't just go and be a left, you know, or right. We can't.
So let's say it this way.
That way.
Let's say it this way. Let's say it this way. So on the 17th, the speaker made a decision, made a ruling. He said he was not a ruling, but he made a decision, made a ruling, and so that ruling changed the makeup of the House. All right.
Very serious.
Now, Supreme Court has said something else. You guys say that you listen to the speaker. Of course, one of your MPs or colleagues said he doesn't even know what the Supreme Court has said. So he was in his constituency, there were gunshots, he doesn't know what it is. So he was coming to the Parliament for the speaker to tell him what had transpired. So when you come, you sit where you have to sit. Maybe when the speaker now speaks, and then if there should be changes, the changes occur. You know, but now we lost that opportunity. So is the MPP side of the House saying that until the speaker speaks to reverse it, they are not coming?
No, that's not.
Is that the case?
I made a very strong point that at the business meeting, which he knows, some things are determined.
Yes.
Many things are determined before they come.
But there was no. They are not available
and
for the
that is why I think that, you know, respectfully, maybe the back end meetings about the business meeting should be brought out, and that is where I know that sometimes a business meeting can actually happen very late because of all kinds of reasons, you know, and you know, I don't know. I mean, what was the speed for postponement for? and let me add that, you know, with all due respect, the speaker has one deputy, if not at all. He could, by virtue of, you know,
if he was going somewhere, the person could preside.
He could preside.
And
he could give him the careful instruction that Joe Wise.
No, but he's saying there was no business.
No, he could give him the careful instruction. Now listen, no matter what happens, if the business meeting commences, tell them that I've agreed to rescind my decision. You have every right to stand in for me and do that. And
but
I
there
think
was no business in the House.
I'm talking about the business meeting.
You see,
you know,
but the speaker said there was no business meeting.
And there was not.
And once there was no
what
business
I'm saying is that in the business meetings, and you are here, it can happen at 6 p.m.
Yeah, but
so my point is that if the speaker had a flight to catch, and I'm just offering something, maybe he had a 6 p.m. flight to catch to Tamale or wherever. If that's the case, you just tell your compadre, deputy that, listen, and let me even add further that if there are none of the two deputies, one of us members of parliament can stand in. And I would have been ready to sit in the speaker's chair, you know, very much in my outfit to then say that.
Let me go to the guys online. Just hold your thoughts. Franklin, your initial comment, you know, is put me off guard a bit because it's a matter that must be even discussed at all. So, but here we are. There's an issue confronting us, and we have to discuss this. These are okay, Dr. Sekwapon. You know, what do you think really? That did they have to go to the House and make the point, or they have to say that because the Supreme Court has ruled against your decision or has stayed your decision, the Speaker should actually make the comment reversing the sitting agreement and all of that before they get in? What would have been the better way out of this? Go that way, raise the point, no matter where you are sitting, and get a comment from the Speaker. And that could become the basis of many things. Or, I mean, what do you think?
Yes, so one of two scenarios. If, and I would have also wished and hoped that all of that would have been discussed, resolved, consensus built with leadership long before even Thursday morning arrived. Get into Parliament, you know, say that, look, I made this pronouncement or ruling on the basis of, and if you recall, the Speaker took his time to really go through his decision-making process before arriving at that, you know, declaration of the seats, you know, as vacant. So could have said, look, again, I still believe that my reasons are sound, etc., etc. However, the court has said X, Y, and Z. So whilst, you know, the decision is stayed, let's carry on. That could have been one ideal scenario. or again, when the recall petition was going around, or once the required signatures were met, again, another set of conversation could have said, look, if we are still having disagreements and we are unsure how Thursday would play out in Parliament, then maybe it is best for us to wait, let the Supreme Court make that final determination on Monday, and then we can, proceed from there, because then at that point, our differences in the interpretation of what 97(1) GH8 means would have been resolved by the court. We may still end up having differences with how the court came down, in terms of its ruling, but the court would have helped us resolve our differences, and then we can move on. One of these two scenarios for me would have been my preferred scenario, especially because if you look at Afrobarometer and some of the sentiments about Parliament as an institution, the public, what the public is seeing, for me, doesn't help improve some of those not so positive sentiments about Parliament as an institution. And so, again, you observe and then you say, is there any reason why agreement can be come to, why the public spectacle for me is not helpful to the image of Parliament, even though these are very important questions that have to be settled and have implications for good governance. The last thing I would also mention is that with all of this going on, again, if you look at Afrobarometer, Ghanaians want more political cooperation than this acrimonious type of relationship that emerges sometimes. I think it's a reflection of the composition of the 8th Parliament, what they have seen and experienced. But if you look at the question about, should there be cooperation between opposition and government, you see a substantial increase between when the question was first asked 4 rounds ago and the most recent one. And I will still go back to the fact that you often hear members of Parliament refer to each other as my good brother, my good friend, which means that even beyond their deep partisan differences, there is a reservoir of goodwill that can be tapped into to try and resolve this impasse.
I see. I mean, Honorable Adumako said it's not a joking matter and it's not a joking sitting. The sitting positions appear very important. Do you share that view?
Yes, because there are conventions, right? Parliament has conventions in the way, it conducts itself, even, on things like who sits where in the House. And it's not, it's part of that practice, it's part of their convention. So who sits where in the House cannot be trivialized for me in this matter. I mean, if it was that, with all due respect, if it was that inconsequential, then the NDC side could have also gone in and sat where they've been sitting, right? But it does matter, and that is why they took, the seats that they took, and why the MPP, I'm sure, would not go in and take their side, because, again, there's still disagreement over who is the majority party and who is not. I mean, as per what the Speaker had said, the NDC believes they are the majority party, but also based on the Supreme Court's initial, stay the decision for now until we determine this question, believes that they are still the majority party. I can see the MPP having walked in on Thursday and some chaos erupted, because if they had gone in, they probably would have also demanded to sit in their rightful place, quote unquote, in their own, estimation.
So, given the circumstances, you think that it was right for them not to have come at all because of the chaotic situation you anticipated?
Yeah, because we've seen a few of these, and as I keep saying, for me, I also don't like politics that becomes too adversarial in nature. And so if they were going to come to Parliament and, who sits where, and then it erupts into another chaotic scene and sort of, our political temperaments flare up, then to avoid all of that, a spectacle, it was just best for them to have just stayed away and find a way to get their leadership to communicate again their misgivings to the speaker. Some of the public commentary is also not helping. I mean, at this point, we don't need further, we don't need to further escalate this. I think at some point, again, they would have to tap into that reservoir of goodwill, tone down the rhetoric, and find a way out of this impasse, and move forward.
I see. Great. Thanks for that. I'll go back to you. So, Honorable, you had a few points to make, but
yes.
Together with that, tell us what the way forward will be.
Well, first of all, the government side members of parliament are willing to wait for the Supreme Court, but are unwilling to respect the ruling of the Speaker. The ruling of the Speaker said that four members of parliament are no longer members of parliament. So it has changed the configuration, and so has made us the majority, we in the NDC the majority. Now the Speaker needs to make another ruling based on the Supreme Court ruling that we stay off the decision until the ruling they will make. The best thing for them is to come to the House. It doesn't take anything away from them if they would sit where the minority would sit and raise the issue to the Speaker, for the Speaker to make fresh ruling so that they can then come the following day and take their majority seats. They are unwilling to do that. I don't know, they are preferring to stay off at the expense of government business. It's not our fault. It is their fault, and they have to correct it. Now, but they are visiting their inadequacies and failures on the Speaker, which is unacceptable. You see, you have not done what you should do to get things done. And then you are accusing the Speaker for being a neutral person and doing the neutral work he's supposed to do. They should have met the Speaker before the sitting on that day, on the 7th. They should have had leadership meeting with him. They should have given him the line of operation, and they would then move to the chamber. If even only their leadership entered the House, it would have been enough for us to have a parliament. And the Speaker gets, the business of the House. And then you ask for permission to make a statement, and you draw the Speaker's attention to the Supreme Court ruling. The Speaker will make a pronouncement, and that will be it. Once the Speaker makes a pronouncement, we are willing to obey the Supreme Court, we are willing to obey the Speaker. It will determine what the Speaker will now say. And once the Speaker contradicts his own earlier ruling, who are we to say the Speaker's ruling is wrong? We will definitely have to obey. So I have a strong feeling that the MPP side is behaving in an arrogant manner to avoid, sitting in a place where they feel they shouldn't sit, when it's under normal circumstances, under some circumstances which they reverted by killing people in Techiman, they definitely would have been the minority. They definitely would have been a minority. They took a gun.
But MPP people didn't kill people in Techiman. I mean, we heard the security forces shot.
The security forces shot on behalf of the government at the time.
No, they shot on behalf. They shot to maintain peace.
So until the security forces did what they did.
No misinformation.
Until the security people did what they did, it was possible for them to have been the minority. If we have decided to overlook all this,
but the court in Techiman dealt with that matter, and the court said MPP won it.
They would always get that in court. That's we don't.
What are you saying? The parties presented
from
their
the
case.
beginning of this government to date, no matter sent by the NDC to court has had a favorable ruling.
Atufossin.
So it's very easy.
Atufossin.
Atufossin was sent to the court by the Republic.
It's very easy for you to foresee rulings. Now it is very predictable.
The appeal, yes.
It's very, very predictable.
When Atufossin wins.
So Atufossin went to court, he was freed.
These days, it's very, very predictable to see.
I just gave you one example.
To see the
one
rulings.
powerful example.
And so,
what's the way forward?
So the way forward is that they should have a dialogue. So far,
who initiates the dialogue? The speaker, the majority leader, minority leader?
Any one of them, but it is important for the government side to initiate a dialogue. In fact, to move to the speaker, go to the speaker alone, have a discussion with him, invite your friends in the other side of the divide, have a discussion. The joint membership, leadership, would now move to the speaker and then agree on something. Okay, Mr. Speaker, we are going to sit in the House, but we will expect your ruling based on the statement I will make. Once we make the statement and then you make a pronouncement, that will be it. You can adjourn the House, we'll come the following day and take sides. And that will be it. If we agree on this, and this is very easy to get. If you notice, when I was the deputy majority leader, much of the issues were left to me by the majority leader.
Who was the majority leader?
Clayton Savoka.
Clayton Savoka, okay.
And once he left them on me, I appeared to give a lot of concession to the opposition. Allow them to speak all they wanted to speak. And then I'll cool down my side, let them speak, because that's what they are. That's the only thing they have. When the vote comes, we vote against them. But after they have done the speaking, normally they won't even go for the votes. They feel that they have spoken enough. The vote will come. There will not be the pronouncement will come.
But this parliament is different.
And then they will take a concession. Now in this parliament, the majority side now behaves like opposition. They're very aggressive, very, very, forward going.
Because if they don't do that, they can't push through their things.
You don't need to fight to get it. Just in a situation where you know that in fighting, this people will also fight, you have no way, just keep your quiet, work behind the scenes. Can you imagine the many, many agreements we got done without any tough voting at the time, the STX and all the kinds of things that they were against.
But that one you had the overwhelming numbers, so
yes.
No matter what, you'd have won.
And then we just allow things to go, and then eventually they won't even vote. We'll get our way through. But the truth is that we need to, the two sides need to talk. It has to be initiated by the government side. They need to have a sitting with the minority, or the so-called minority, the former minority, now the majority, until we begin to implement the Supreme Court ruling to stay off. And then they would have to rope in the speaker. The speaker is a neutral fellow. You tell him what he will do, and then he will do it.
But is it a thing between the minority and majority, or is it between the majority and the speaker?
The minority, present minority, is seeing that it is with them and the speaker, which is wrong.
By present minority, you mean the MPP side?
Yes.
Okay.
They feel that it is between them and the speaker, but it's wrong. The speaker has no role here.
But the speaker, he made a decision, and he was taken to court.
So you have to call,
not the NDC
yeah.
side.
So you have to now be there to say, Mr. Speaker, there is a ruling in the Supreme Court. It is so and so and so, and then the speaker will now say yes and take a decision and then you make a motion, present a motion. The speaker cannot present a motion on his own. He doesn't have the right to do so. It has to be done by
the members,
a member of parliament. They will now speak, present a motion, and say that we will now have a situation where the majority will now go back to where they used to be. The former majority will now become the majority based on the speaker's ruling. And then, we'll vote on it.
I see.
And then the speaker will make a decision on it. And he has no other option but to make a decision favorable to the Supreme Court ruling. But they are too big to do that. And that's the worry. So please, the public watching us, talk to the minority leadership, present minority leadership, through you.
You're confusing us now.
Tell them that they should go to the House.
After the stay, I think
the ruling would
the
have
whole
been
country now knows that the majority still remains majority.
All right, so Doc, what's the way forward in your sense? I mean, who should go to who? Who should start talking?
I think that this is sort of an alternative dispute resolution situation. The two figures or three figures at post are having struggles. One, I almost wanted to ask Rashid Palpo if he upholds what the Supreme Court has said as a member of Parliament, and if so be the case, does the entire or let me say, does the entire NDC caucus hold what the Supreme Court has said? And if they intend to sustain what the Supreme Court has said, then clearly they won't go into the chamber even seated on the majority side. Because if they intend to uphold a ruling that has been made by the Supreme Court, rightfully, they can enhance the Speaker's decision making by being where they are supposed to be. You know, which then, but then again, I mean, that is, you know, I'm not here because I've heard members state categorically that they would, as it is, not uphold what the Supreme Court has said. So
let me explain to you. They would do so, I'll just give it, they would do so based on another ruling in the chamber by the Speaker.
Yes, but
the Supreme Court
so the Supreme Court has said that.
No, now the posture. You see, everything is our posture.
It has to be formally presented to the chamber.
So let me pose to you this question.
And it will be presented to the chamber.
Do you uphold what the Supreme Court has said as an NDC member of Parliament?
I have no option but to uphold it.
Okay.
But the truth is that.
So when other members say no, they won't.
But for us to act according to it.
I don't think anybody has said they will not.
But I won't share videos.
Let me explain to you. But for us to act according to the Supreme Court ruling,
I understand the
Speaker
has to
be formally
declare.
be presented to the House,
Yeah.
and the Speaker will formally inform us and take a decision on that. And it can be triggered by you in the chamber.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying. Even if 10 of you go into the chamber, and we all are there,
and we're all seated on the right side,
and then you raise the issue,
and
the
we're all
Speaker
seated
ruled
on the
it.
right side.
The Speaker, wherever you sit, the Speaker said, this Parliament is not the prime ministerial type of parliament.
So
we are not like opposition.
I think
here,
the way forward.
We can all sit.
The way forward. Listen, I think it's quite strict. I would hope that the Speaker of Parliament, just as he did on Wednesday, would at least make it clear to Ghanaians that he intends to uphold and sustain what the Supreme Court has said publicly. And I think once that is done, his posturing should also be in line with what he does. But let me also admit here, and I find it painful to say this, that there's been many times that the NDC have not upheld their end of the bargain with our leadership. And in fact, I must say that some of us backbenchers, forgive me, sometimes get so livid because
this is a close. You have to give examples
because our leadership
instances to back.
Our leadership, has meetings with the NDC and things are agreed upon. For instance, if there was a business meeting, quote unquote, and in the business meeting an agreement had been made that now based on Supreme Court's rulings, this and this and this should happen, and that when we go to the chamber, NDC will say, we're going to sit. For all you know, when we go there.
This speculation.
Rashid, there's been scenarios, and it's not.
And we have the same scenarios when we agree with you and you go to change.
Well, so you admit that,
So both sides do it.
So right now, my key point is that, in local parlance, this is the situation we're in now. So I really believe that the onus is on the Speaker and the NDC to show a positive, not deviation, but a positive adherence to the rules by the Supreme Court, and then I think it will make all of this go away. So I think that
the Supreme Court would have ruled on the 11th.
Yeah.
We hope so.
I think that if the Speaker, his orations prior to our sitting are positive and in cranche, the right word is in cranche, making us aware that he's towing the line based on what the Supreme Court said. Fantastic. But this is a case that about 12 hours prior to sitting, there's somebody talking about East Coast whilst we were trying to go West Coast. And the radar was on a whole different trajectory. And that made it difficult for us to ascertain whether the Speaker was going to rule or make a declaration in line with what the Supreme Court. And let me add that, there are some things that we need to be mindful of. Just as we can impeach the president, for very good reasons. At a point in time, I think the Speaker of Parliament also needs to
But he can also be impeached.
He should inspect his decision making. And I'm saying this with serious respect for his position, because there's a thin line where, you can be strongly wrong, let me put it that way, and you can be also strongly right. And if you're not careful in leadership, and you are strongly wrong, and you pitch that tent in that way, you might, be found to be committing, quote unquote, an impeachable offense.
So what would you guys do? You recall Parliament, or
as it stands now? I think we're waiting to have a leadership meeting to make a determination, because members are seriously working in constituencies, trying to garner and get votes for the 9th Parliament, which depends largely on our work today. So I think a lot of parliamentarians, including Rashid Pelpo, are working very actively in their various constituencies. I need to also say this, that fortunately yesterday, Samira Baumia was in my constituency. I managed to enjoy the conversations and discussions that she gave to our people, and it was fantastic, very reassuring. And with the greatest respect, I think that we are at a point in time where many parliamentarians are campaigning locally in their own constituencies, and for that matter, we were even hoping that would have, officially, adjourned Parliament, and this even idea of brokering another return. Right now, as it stands, maybe, who knows, the real return will be after election. And at that point in time, we'll know who the real majority is
for the
future Parliament. And this whole question of who's majority minority will be all a hula balloon. But it's rather interesting that if we're not careful, interestingly, the Speaker would have literally
ended this Parliament,
and manage the Parliament where at some point in time one same party is majority, and because just everything that quote unquote can go off in our constitution has happened in the 8th Parliament, and some I'd encourage literary people and people in the likes of the political sciences to carefully write on the 8th Parliament. It is in the midst of diseases that solutions come out, and I think that the way we've had quote unquote illness in the 8th Parliament, we've really ruminated and grind the constitution so much that it's a body of work for students of law, students of politics, and there's so much in there. It's so rich, and even long-time practitioners of Parliament are saying that, Charlie, this animal of the 8th Parliament is totally different.
Okay. Yeah. Doc, Dr. Osekwapo, what's the way forward? Is there leadership? What's the way forward? How should we approach this? Should they even recall Parliament at all? We should just wait, let the MPs go and work in their constituencies and come back after the election. What should be the way forward?
Well, so two things. The court would rule. Once the court gives its interpretation of what those articles at the heart of this issue means, then I'm sure they would respond appropriately. There's still things that Parliament needs to do. There are important pieces of business that still needs to be done between now and when the 9th Parliament sits, which means that whether they come back, as per a recall, or whether they come back after the election on December 7th, they still have to come to some decision on, look, how do we get back, and clear this out? The important business that needs to be cleared, that can wait till the 9th Parliament. How do we do that? Which is why, for me, I keep saying, when all of this is said and done, I'm just hoping that whatever reservoirs of goodwill that they have for each other, because they've been colleagues, some are friends, you see them regularly call each other my good brother, my good friend, they can tap into that to help them get out of this. And maybe even if it's 3 things they can do before the life of this Parliament is over, get that done, and hopefully all of this would pass.
Great. Thanks so much. We'll take a short break, but I leave you with these 2 videos, one from Athenio Markin and then the other from Kennedy Japan. Let's hear Kennedy Japan first, then later we take Athenio Markin, then we take a break, come back, We'll finish.
But even that Ken, it was the onus also on the so-called majority group leaders to inform the speaker, where are your colleagues? And he will tell them they are in caucus. They want to tell us that nobody knew that we were having a caucus meeting.
Well, he can be Epimenides and sit on the fence, because even if he knows, and once there's no official communication, I can pretend I didn't know. That one day, I can pretend that I didn't know.
People sitting on our seats.
Yeah, that's the problem. I've posed that question because I entered the chamber and I saw NDC occupying MPP seats. So I just had to leave. I told the leader and the leadership, the two whips and deputy majority leader, that we should go back. So I'm begging you, what actually happened today, it was not deliberate that we were boycotting, but we wanted to get understanding from the speaker. So we were at the caucus meeting, and maybe I will admit that it took so long.
But that is even allowed in parliamentary culture.
I engaged Honorable Agboja and told him, and he said, oh, then you made a mistake. You should have informed the speaker that you were at the caucus meeting. The speaker didn't know, which I cannot defend because I'm not part of the leadership. And I'm sure he's right. I'm sure if my leaders have informed the speaker that we're holding a meeting and we'll be back, definitely he would have waited.
We will not, MPP will not. We will not. Therefore, don't be swayed by their lies and their propaganda. The chaos they started is what they want to end. We will not allow that. We believe that we have to win the elections right at the polling station and would go and work. Right now, what the NDC has done, basically, are the following. One, they don't want Ghanaians to receive their pay, public servants, because they know that after the elections, there will be no budget. And to be able to pay Ghanaian workers, there will be the need for parliamentary approval of the budget first quarter. That would be on account, appropriation on account. That's it's a constitutional requirement. So that is what they want. They want to stampede it. Two, they want to again create a certain impression that Ghana is lawless. Ghana is not lawless. We will not allow them to give a wrong impression to the international community. We will respect the law. Three, all these businessmen, you know, their fear is that under the 1D, 1F, these companies are going to create jobs. These companies will employ people. So their fear is that should these be addressed, it will mean that all their propaganda of unemployment would fall flat. So further to frustrate businessmen and drive them away. Are these Democrats?
No.
Now there are important things to do. We have the free SHS bill, which is before Parliament. Their main aim is to conspire with Mr. Speaker to prevent the free SHS bill from being passed.
Dr. Baumian once said,
the economy is going to grow and grow and grow, and we will have jobs and jobs and jobs. This is the economy of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
The unemployment rate, which stood at just 8% in 2016, has hit an all-time high of 15%. The latest 2024 Afrobarometer indicates that unemployment is the biggest problem facing the nation. You trust this liar at your own peril. Vote John Dramani Mahama for president. Trustworthy, honest, and reliable. Vote for change. Choose the umbrella. Vote John Dramani Mahama and the NDC.
How far with your intention?
To be honest, I'm so nervous about starting this new role on Monday.
Oh, please. I know you'll be great at it. You should be worried about what benefits they have. Example, do they have health insurance?
I doubt they will have that for internet. But no shaking. I have NHIS already.
After you're on a line, ting.
Hey now, look at you. What are you going to do in the office when you can just download the app to register for an NHIS membership?
Yes, my people. You heard right. You can now download and register your membership on my NHIS app. No long queues or tedious paperwork. All you need is your Ghana card to register for yourself and for others. Once you register, you get a new digital NHIS card on your phone. My NHIS app gives you access to credentialed health facilities and services across the country. NHIS covers over 95% of disease conditions in Ghana. Access to healthcare just got easier.
Now let me sign up quickly. Me Seth, I'm starting work next month.
John, Mama Wakwaba.
Yeah, so.
Alaji, Mama Wakwaba.
Yeah.
John, I had a bro, one.
I really am a Ghana and Tina Menamo, one thing Breca can be Jano. Don't want to know my Saba.
Alaji, I had a bro.
Yo, Medase. Moamonim, Tamana, Amawa, which you Mumiana, Nambe Bobo and a Kakra. As I say, dear, my crowd said, me person me be wareno. Namiko CSC, Name man sign Jan and Nasubium, no your crabeshe.
Yo, I was not for, yes, Empire. Yo, I'm a Ghana. What's more?
Mean to me, ain't sanity. Your bread baby, I would have fair way. A man who baby meant to me beyond forward ever, backwards never.
John, what Okoya would me very fast. I would say a come do so. Trap me none enemy. Yeah, 3 years such as here by come on your school uncle. And okay, yeah, on my essay.
I say, my sister, be show ball. Saho machi 2 o'clock okra. Meko band, the Makwa Iska, Eddie Abraham Ghana, Nama Bonigretri, I'm not starting Kokon Kete. Hey!
Akunta, you are still incompetent.
2 persons are in Mamia Bravo, and 2 chachati aviator. There be Embasso.
Alaji has also promised us jobs through digitalization. A Jumambe Bushi say.
Alaji dear, Metanasua, Nema sorry. Emribia Mekania Besano. What me talk and near light when you phone so a mammy baby or Nambia. You are Magana, and Yaman Mawari amount. Alajini Jones me, where choose you.
No Ababa say. A Alaji number 1.
Alaji number 1.
Esuro.
All right, you're welcome back. This is a big issue. Just gone by the discussion on the EC. The discussion on the Parliament, Speaker, minority, majority, and all of that, and the way forward. It does appear that Parliament itself must find a way around this, so we have our lives back. We move on. We look at the next matter, though briefly. The Electoral Commission has presented to the parties, as stipulated by law, the final voters register, the register that will be used for election 2024. The NDC appears to have some issues with it. But let me just provide you an update on that. It said with December 7 polls inching closer as the day goes by, the NDC has rejected a certified voters register for the 2024 general elections over failure by the Electoral Commission to provide statistics of the voters' roll after presenting a register to political parties on Wednesday. Although the EC argues it's not legally obliged to provide a voter summary, Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the NDC, Dr. Tanko Rashid Computer, insists his party will not accept the register without it.
We know that there cannot be an election without statistics. Why are they doing ballot printing? Ask them. Don't they have statistics over there? Why didn't they take the register and send it over there to print it? Is that how they do things? And you are saying we are holding to ransom. You held the whole media and political party for ransom here for more than 6 hours. And they are talking about it. If they don't bring the ballot statistics or the voter statistics and the summaries, we are not going to take the register.
If the summaries are ready tomorrow, will you come back?
I said that's why we're here. We're here waiting for the summary. They promised giving us the summary. We didn't put dagger on their this neck to ask for the summary. If she knew that she was not obliged to give her the summary, she should have told us around 5 o'clock.
So have you returned the drive?
We've returned it. We have officially said we have returned the drive back to them until we get the summary. What is she talking about? I've been doing the election since 1988. I have passed through all the mills, and I know every election cycle summaries are given to us. Ballot printing, go to the ballot printing house and see whether summaries are not there. Haven't they given?
She just told us that is not the modus operandi of the commission.
I am saying that she's not the first electoral commissioner. We have dealt with commissioners before, and we had all summaries. I can provide you all summaries from 1992 up to now if you want. I have it.
You think she's deviating?
Completely. She knows the thing. How can you go to election? Now I'm asking you, what is the total registered voters for the election? You are media, do you know? Why were you silent? Why didn't you ask it? She mentioned that. And I'm saying, why
the time from which the meeting was suspended to the return of the commissioner and the deputies, realistically, was it ample enough to have produced something substantive?
That should have been one of the first things for them to do before talking of satisfying the register. That statistics should be at their fingertips. That is the basics that they should have done first before talking of the register itself. You don't give a register without statistics. You are not going to generate statistics for it. So we are going to go into election without you knowing the total number of people registered and all that. You want me to go and look at this before I can generate it myself? We are not going to do. These are the kind of incompetence they are always exhibiting, and we are saying that these are the people who jeopardize the democracy of this country.
All right, so that was Dr. Rashid Tanko, computer. He led the NDC team to that meeting at the EC, and obviously from that interview, you realize that he's not happy, or the party is not happy with the fact that the EC provided the register without what he calls the summary or the breakdown. Doc, my guests remain the same. Dr. Rashid Pelpu, MP, Wa Central, Dr. Dixon Adomaku Kisi, MP, Anyaso Utum, Dr. Osai Kwapon, fellow CDD fellow, political scientist, and Franklin Kujo, President of Money Africa. Gentlemen, you're welcome once again.
Thank you.
Dr. Pelpu, what is the NDC's position really? The summaries, but the summaries, or you have the register. So when you open the pen drive or the hard drive, you see the register, and so you see the numbers. Why must it be followed with a summary? What's the point?
Well, thank you. It's important that transparency underlies the core operations of the EC. That anybody who looks at the register, who looks at the process of conducting these elections, will come out to say, if this is done, I won't complain at the end of it, because it's transparent, it is seen to be fair, even before the voting takes place. So in all aspects of this, anything that can enhance that transparency is important. And we are saying that, and it used to be the case, that once you print the voter register and present it to the people, they must know the statistical components of the register. We must understand the numbers that are registered. We must understand the male, female, gender registered in the voter. Anything that has to define the register to give it that level of operations that can be transparent for the people, it's important. If you did it in the past and enabled us to work well, why don't you want to do it now? If it is pointed out to you that, look, please, this, in the past when you did it, it helped us to understand the number of ballot papers you print, because there's statistics about it, there's a number to it, the number in each constituency, the number in each region, the number in the country, and so we know that in printing the ballots, you are printing this number. So please kindly go and do that, and let's have it. You say no, it's not by law. Would
they are not obliged by law to do it, so there's no point. They could do it, they could not do it, and they decided not to do it.
You see, some conventions and practices, because even though they may not have legal implications, have become a necessity to foster cooperation and transparency. So once it had been done in the past, and enable people to follow the trend and allow transparency to occur, they are pointing out to you. It has become part of our lives. Don't just give a voter register blank like that. It is possible for you to tamper with it. If you say you have printed, let's say 10 million voters, and you stated 10 million. Now this time you have not indicated it's 10 million. And then tomorrow you are going to say, and we know the Electoral Commission can say that they have, even in simple mathematics, they calculate it and the following day they say, no, that's not it. It used to be this. Just print it and let us know. So that we wouldn't get up one day and you say, no, it should have been 10.5 million or 11 million. The statistics have to be clear. I mean, it's a logical part of any document that you start from page 1, page 2, page 3, and you know the number of pages it is, you know the words in each page, you know the chapters in there. It is something that enables people to understand and appreciate a document. But before I even go ahead, let me say that when we were talking about it, you brought Kennedy Ajapon here, and I just want to make a comment and say, look, this man, he speaks radically. But anytime there's a controversy, he's the only person who moves to the minority, at the time, the minority side, to try to find a middle ground. And I think I commend him for that. But essentially, in this matter of the EC and the voter register, if it takes no cost for the EC to do that, they should do it. And it doesn't matter, I mean, how long does it take for you to provide the statistics? It's a matter of authorizing the machine to do it, and it will do it.
Because they suspended the meeting, not suspended, but they took some time off to go and get it done, but they couldn't get it. And so the EC boss now said they were not obliged to do it. So
it means there's a problem with the register. Because if you have an electronic operational system, and you can authorize the system to do anything and to do it. If the document is actually electronized, it is not difficult for it to give instructions to the computer to provide the statistics. It's very, very easy. Unless they say that it is not in a common platform within the confines of the register, the electronic material or machine they are printed it from. If it is, it's not difficult at all. So they should be able to explain to Ghanaians why they are doing that. And we will want to insist that we need this. It's important for us. It's important for us to ensure that we can rely on the EC, because we don't want any situation where results are announced, the following day the statistics are changed, and it is the EC that does that, and they insist that that's their thing. You see, but let me explain to you that EC cannot take a decision today. If they violated the rules and the NDC didn't take them on, once you take a decision and make a pronouncement about results, and you want to change the results, it is not the EC that should change the results anymore. This time it must be the court. Yes, the EC cannot provide any statistics, and later on they say this is not the statistics.
Even if it's clerical error, just clerical.
If it is clerical, fine.
Yeah, but that's what it was. Because if you look at it, if you do the calculations yourself, you see that the figures will be different. And so what the figures they gave, which flowed from the actual.
So you have to go to court and provide that it is clerical, and court can rule and say, yeah, this was clerical. And then, it saves the situation, it saves the tempers and the emotions of the people. It takes away the non-transparent outlook we have on the EC and clears the air for everybody. If they don't do that, it creates a problem for everybody. So I will just encourage them to ensure that this thing is done, no matter how. They should use a consultant who understands the system to do it for us. For every Ghanaian, we are not fighting for NDC. We are fighting for the totality of the Ghanaian populace to make sure that the right thing is done, and to ensure that people can settle down to say that, look, this EC, if they're able to do ABCD, we are hopeful of getting a transparent process.
Very well. Doc, Adumako, so I don't know why the EC would say they won't provide this time, but your party appears happy with it. In fact, Evans Nimako spoke to me on Eyewitness earlier in the week, and he said they were happy and fine with the register. Why, I mean, without even the summaries, why would they be happy with the register when there's no summary? I mean, because people would think that the summaries would help you understand or appreciate the register, at least at first glance. Now, that's not there, but you didn't think it was enough to raise an issue around it.
I think we're in a situation where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I think consistently the NDC at this point in time seems to be at loggerheads with Jean Mensah every time. And I can even almost see a summary brought and a clerical mistake of 5 means 7 become another issue. So, you know, administratively, if the NDC wants to be spoon-fed by the EC, maybe they should just state it categorically that Electoral Commission, please, we're here, spoon-feed us, do all the necessary work. Because I believe that if the NDC had taken a document home to do real work, and what I mean by real work is that take every polling station, check the people, and do that yourself, which will also still have clerical errors.
Then it will stand as
no.
Because if I do my summaries, it will not be correct. It has to be from the EC.
My point here is that even when the EC gives us the summaries, any serious-minded political party has to then go back and cross-check. And my problem with the NDC consistently now is the fact that during the cross-checking process, even when there's a genuine clerical mistake, they can, you know, Eureka, we have another problem. So I think that administratively, it's actually very smart that the EC has provided in raw figures or in raw data for each party to feel free. Now, nothing stops the NDC from doing that. And they still even have to do that, even if the summaries were given. And to avoid, you know, a misstep, and mind you, there's no system in this world that is with zero error, you know, and that is where it's unfortunate that our NDC compadres zoom in on the 0.0 margin of error and blow it up, you know, with magnifying glass, and that is not helping the Electoral Commission. So I think from an administrative standpoint, and hear me carefully here, from an administrative standpoint, if they don't then provide you with a summary that you are supposed to even check on your own, by way of babysitting you, then what's your issue? Because I expect that the research team or the voting exercise or you know, agents that they are going to have should be able to sit on their behind and determine based on the document given the summaries. And if by virtue of, you know, let me take my Eastern region, is it Kevo? If Kevo should sit down and tabulate all of Eastern region and be sure that these are the numbers.
But Kevo is NDC.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if Kevo, who's NDC, should sit down and do the tabulation for the Eastern region and come to a conclusion that there are X amount of people in Koforidua, X amount of people in, you know, I'm trying to bring up one of the coal towns, maybe in Paiso, where I'm from. And there's a confrontation on the election day that, you know, we're expecting 12,000 people and 27,000 people have voted. Then you have, it is even in your interest to have your numbers, which you can then say that, hey, this is what the EC gave us. We're expecting voter turnout to be less than even this. So if today we are here and we have more than the you know, numbers, then you have a case. So that is even a stronger position. And I would urge the NDC, you know, because whether they got the summary or not, they would have had to still go and then do the work to ascertain that the summaries were correct without errors. And my problem is the fact that any itty bit error they would have noticed, they would have blown it up like it's a deliberate mistake or a deliberate action of the Electoral Commission. By their own doings, by their own pronouncements, it has driven the woman to be extra cautious administratively, to say that, listen, these tabulations and summaries were an additional thing to ease all of us our work. However, at this stage in time, we don't want to come and bring another figure.
But is that not a problem, really? I mean, because we didn't know about these errors and things prior to her tenure. Because these are simple things.
There were things that administratively were, or clerical errors, that now people blow it up as if they've never been through an election before. So I think that our behaviors or our pronouncements, when we know that these are clerical errors, and how we blow it up is becoming a bit unbecoming.
So now, as we speak, we don't even know as media, we don't even know the total registered voters. We don't have those figures.
No, I think if I'm not mistaken, at some point in time, we knew it was 18 million.
No, but the final.
No, I'm just saying.
Yes,
I mean,
but the final
margin of error-wise, it can be.
So because NDC raised some issues with some numbers. We don't know whether they said they've cleaned them, etc. But we were expecting that perhaps at the end of the matters raised, you let them see it, or you create a platform where people will look at it before you come back with a very final.
I'm told the NDC actually has the copy.
Yeah, but
and as it stands, they are doing their homework.
Of course, they should do that. Yes. But given that a lot of issues were raised,
I'm sure there are no limitations. And let me be clear here: there are no limitations in terms of when the EC can, provide these summaries. I mean, there isn't like after that meeting immediately. Once they are working on it, it's a matter of time.
But shouldn't the EC have that? Because they should have some summaries. I'm sure that's what is.
They have it, but they are probably verifying.
Because they went for quite a number of hours.
I'm saying that they are probably doing verification, and these times is very critical. Based on her experience with 2020, she doesn't want to come and
even the voters registration and stuff, where some numbers were wrong.
Give one number and then so it's something that I think that it is really in the interest of the NDC. One, to stop asking to be spoon-fed or babysat, and take the numbers in raw data and ascertain. And we are doing the same. And I think invariably, wherever they see things that are out of line. I mean, if Hohoi has 60,000 voters and you are seeing, based on what you have now, 87,000 voters, you can question it already. You can question it.
I see.
Because the summaries can also have errors, period.
Let me talk to Franklin. Franklin, is it surprising that this time around there's no summaries? Of course, ECSA is not bound by law to do that. But conventionally, they've been providing the summaries every time. NDC is taking issue with that. Does NDC have a point, or you think, as Honorable Domagoj is saying, they want to be spoon-fed?
Well, I mean, I think it's a really non-issue. I think clearly, once you have been given the data, you should be able to determine the should I call it, the total size of whatever the voters. But but the other side of the question really also is, I mean, we need to know from the official body what number of registered voters, and indeed in terms of male or female, we should be able to know, and all the ages as well. I don't think that is too much to ask. I think it serves a good purpose for lay people. I don't think we need to go to a political party to get that information. I think for some of us who use this information to do analysis, it should be obvious. I shouldn't go to the NDC or NPP or any other party that will be giving the raw data to actually go and help look and estimate and do. I mean, what's the basis of this? These are just basic administrative stuff that should be given. I'm surprised that I'm hearing this really. I mean, first of all, the EC just told us not long ago, I think it was last week, the gentleman running the show these days,
sorry.
Suggesting that they are employing quantitative experts, actuarial scientists, mathematicians, then accountants, all kinds of people that are probably strange to election. But apparently they need all these experts to do simple calculations. I can't even believe that. But anyway, granted that they have a challenge in counting figures. And Dr. Kisi, by the way, it's not everything the EC does that could be clerical error. Look, because of a contrived error, they rigged the procurement process to give their favorite company the right to purchase those biometric machines. I mean, we saw all of that. It's as if, I'm not making it up. It's as clear as daylight. They've not denied it too. They said 86 plus 15 is 95, right? Yeah, they said something like that. When the second It should have been something like 106 or something. Yeah, and then the second company was giving something like 102. So look, we've seen all this before. So please allow them to also have doubt. But I'm just saying that if the EC has told us now that they have employed, they are going to recruit experts, 200 of them they mentioned, actuarial scientists, mathematicians, people who do quantitative analysis. Why should it be difficult to give a total figure of what the electoral roll is? I mean, I don't understand this stuff. So those people will be paid. I don't even know how they procured all these 200 people. I don't know where they procured them. Did you hear the procurement process? We don't know. We don't know how much they'll be paid. If all these people will be paid some handsome sums of money, they should be able to tell us the total number on the roll. I mean, this is basic. So irrespective of the fact that yes, the NDC and the people may be crying foul, at least it helps not just those parties, for all of us. Media people must know how many people are on the roll, and it helps. You see, there's a reason why this is also important. I recall some time ago, people say, oh, the voter roll is bloated. We sometimes hold the position that, look, by our population levels and given the number of people on the roll, it was actually in keeping with the times and globally. So again, if we got to know that total figure, we'll be able to estimate without necessarily doing some serious mathematical gymnastics to say, oh, okay, well, this is not so off the base. But now I'm being told as a layperson that, well, you never know the figure anyway, because we are not supposed to give you anyway. That doesn't seem to be, that shouldn't be coming from a serious entity, even if they are challenged mathematically. I think this is off base, really. And so, Dr. Kisi, it's not just the political parties that need. By the way, has the NPP done their analysis? Have they told us what the final figure is? Imagine everybody goes and then does their own analysis and comes and says, I think the number of people on the voter roll is 60 million. Somebody says 40 million. That's when they say 30 million. Then we now start asking ourselves, what methods are they using to do the calculation? You know, the mother body must be able to tell. That's why they are being paid. You know, this whole thing that constitutional bodies that are set up in this country, this is the only country I've seen, even within Africa, that they are so stubborn. Sometimes they are very incompetent, but so stubborn as well, and just disrespect people. Forgetting that they are being paid by the same people. They just wake up and say, I won't give you this, I won't give you that. I mean, who born dog? Why should my money be paying you for you to be toying with me, telling me all kinds of nonsense? Write letter on the eve of an election that I can't vote, my people cannot vote. Really? I mean, they say that anyway, it's not surprising that they keep getting low marks in terms of trust. The EC now is trusted by about 28% of people in the country. This is not right. It's just not right. And it's not because, frankly, Imani people are always on their neck saying we are not safe. But if you are put in an official position where you are guaranteeing data, money, and all of that, please, but that one will never spare you. And we'll go after you every time. And I bet you, every time we've gone after the EC, we are so 99.9% right. So right. Right? I mean, people say that I'm fighting EC because of sound. But why not? Because it can happen to anybody else. They can just write a letter on the eve of the election. These days, I'm not sure, maybe they have another tactic somewhere. But that was gerrymandering being aided by a whole constitutional body. Can you imagine that in a civilized country like this, an electoral commissioner can write a letter that, oh, you people cannot vote. And that's not an error. So people have every right to be suspicious of their reactions. And on this one, Dr. Kisi, I disagree now. I'm actually now forming, my views are actually now coalescing. And I think it's a serious dereliction of basic mathematical duty to tell the whole country that, to tell political parties that you cannot get the total number of voters on the road. Why? Was the NDC people, were they the people registering the people? Is it not the EC that we pay money to that registered everybody in the country? So are they not the people mandated to tell us the number? Why should they be the individual parties? Why? You know, so these things, we have to be really, look, you see, when injustice is being perpetrated against a certain group of people, I think sometimes we should sit back and ask ourselves, is this the right thing to do? Are people being served? And on this one, Charlie, it's just not right. How do you go and register people calculate, and then you tell people that, oh, you don't worry, that one constitutional. Selorm, you're also saying that they are not mandated.
No, but that's what they've said, and they've quoted the law, that the law doesn't say they should provide the summary. The law doesn't say they should provide the summary.
Look, then what is your work? Selorm, then what's the essence of being an electoral commissioner? You are supposed to be counting people, registering people, and counting people. Imagine the NIA comes to tell us that they don't know the number of people who have received the national ID cards. Will you be happy? Wouldn't you say that maybe some of the cards are foreigners now, people have suspicions, especially when the state is paying for the cards. Come on, is the state not the one paying for voter ID cards? It's you and myself, our money that's being used. How can the whole body set up to just count people, register people, tell us that they will not give the number? This is asinine, disrespectful, and it's annoying to the core, especially when their duty is to just count numbers and count people. Now I'm being motivated to actually go and look into the 200 people they've actually claimed they are recruiting, mathematicians, actuarial scientists, accountants, quantitative experts, just to do what? Honestly count numbers? Really? You need actuarial scientists? I mean, to think that I'm hearing this jazz, that and on top of that, they have the effrontery to tell us that we won't give you the number. What is this? This type of behavior must not be tolerated in the country, where a constitutionally set up body, where you and I pay those people. You know, it's only these type of people, and it's so annoying sometimes. When you say these things, you have all these motivated, militant ignoramuses who come and tell you that you don't know your work. Shut up, you're always against the EC. It is just crazy to be told that I will not give you the official number on the voter roll when your work is to do that exactly. Hey, Miaba, look at your job. Oh, Charlie, this town sometimes become Charlie, me, I go travel and self. I don't go come back. Bye-bye.
Hang in there, we'll deal with Trump. I'll give you some 2 minutes to go on and on about Trump. Talking about Trump, so Dr.
Seriously.
Sorry? Yes, I'll give you some 2 minutes.
You want me to say something?
I'll give you some 2 minutes to deal with Trump and all of that towards the end. No, towards the end. So just hang in there for me. Let me talk to Dr. Sekwapong. Dr. Sekwapong. Dr. Sekwapon's opening remarks when the show started was that he was not going to greet you because Trump has won. But Dr. Sekwapong is still on. Doc, so now the EC. I mean, what's your take on all of this? We are not obligated to give you the summaries and all of that. NDC is insisting they need the summaries. Should this be something we should be haggling over? Raising the temperature and all of that. How should we deal with this?
Sometimes I think we have a penchant for always, juxtaposing everything against the law. Well, and I'm not saying that the law shouldn't guide the way we do things, but sometimes too, administratively, so long as you are not flouting any laws, there are some things that you have to be able to just simply do administratively without it becoming a big issue, right? So yes, you may not be obligated by law to do that which a political party is asking. But as a matter of administrative practice, is it a good thing to do? Because as Franklin said, what if all the different parties and independent candidates come back and start giving different numbers to say, well, I found 10. Not that they will do that, but let's just imagine a situation where now everybody is saying, well, in Kufuridia, there are 20 people, and when I calculated, there are 5 people here. For me, as a good administrative practice, it would have been helpful for the EC to have given all the parties the parameters within which they are working, which is to say, I am giving you this album of all the detailed raw data, but here is a summary that says, when you are also going through it, expect X number here at the national level, at the regional level, at the district level, at the polling station level. I mean, my job in the US is regularly providing data to different deans, different officers. And I never just throw the raw data at them, right? Yeah. In addition to the raw data, I give them a high-level summary, and then I say, if you want further details, then check the raw data. It's just good administrative practice. And for me, it's for me, you don't have to keep saying, everybody knows that you are not obligated by law to do certain things. But my point is that there are still some things that are good administrative practices to do. And when you do them, it doesn't hurt anything. And this shouldn't be something that should create another, issue as we get closer to the election. Because already the EC's image in terms of trust, even if you look at the not just even Afrobarometer, but the NCC survey that just came out, So for me, you want to do things that, builds that confidence and that trust. I mean, I would not question the motives of the EC, but I'm just saying that some things are just good administrative practices to do. That if you do them, say the end safe.
Very, very well.
Because at the end of the day, the question really is, John, and you are spot on. Just give the thing, and then you make your life better. Why people always they let some of us rest? Because sometimes people think when we talk like this, we are against the EC. But
Very well.
Bring all these things.
Very well. Final words on this. So,
okay, I think that I respect Franklin Kujo and Professor Kwapon for their objective views on this matter. Essentially, the EC should not be given a legal right to do something that is right before they do it. If you walk to court every day or you walk to the EC every day and somebody says, please take a car, then you say, there's no law telling me to take a car, so I don't take a car. What kind of reasoning would that be? And let me ask these questions. Can we declare our own results using our own statistics as NDC? If they say, go and do it using your own statistics, you too go and do it because you'll be spoon-fed if you decide to ask for EC to do it. Then we go and do it and use that one to declare our own result. Will it be accepted? And can such statistics be sent to court if we are eager to advance something we think is transgressing our rights?
But once it flows from the raw data, that's fine. That should be correct.
No, don't say that should be correct. It will be challenged. They will say, look, that is not it. You see, EC is telling you, you cannot declare this because that is our job. Because we have to give the statistics. You haven't done it. You can't go and give a statistic that is not yours. So we cannot use statistics that are ours. We can only use statistics that are theirs. And they alone can give those statistics. As for calculation, everybody can sit down and calculate it. And I'm happy Franklin Kujo was given the scenario of different political parties giving their own situations, and then there's confusion in the atmosphere. So we should not take things for granted, set things for granted. It's important for the EC to listen to us, to do what is right, to solve this problem, to give us transparent view of the process and then the documentation that they are presenting to us, that we can be settled. Yeah.
Very well. Dr. Adonoo.
Well, in summary, I think that in as much as the AC has to do their work, all parties have to be self-sufficient and very ready to scrub the data to ascertain whether the summaries that are upcoming are correct or not. And just as on election day, individual parties will be very clear in their mind as to who has won or not. I think by those same measures, every individual party should be very ready now with appropriate human resource to be able to do the needful. But in a way, I also believe that for administrative, let me say, integrity or administrative transparency, I mean, these are words that I'm creating now. I think it's up that the EC provide us, by end of this month specifically, or in the next foreseeable days, the final, summary that they have that will not be questioned. And I would also plead with the NDC. I'm pleading with them that throwing shades, or as it is, putting sand in the gari of the EC. I mean, there should be some limitations. Some of their behaviors is what has brought us this far. And I would only think that, no, I mean, what I mean by that is that clearly some things
that should not be questioned
are clerical errors, though Franklin has spoken that some clerical errors are strategic
they are not really
and deliberate.
errors.
I understand, but I think that some we know, certainly, if a polling station is supposed to have 578 and it's 570, those are, sometimes typos. And sometimes you can even note that the two keys that are typed are very close, and those are clerical. And I think that when we see those things, we shouldn't make inflammatory statements.
Very well. I give the last minute each to Franklin and Osai Kopova on this one.
But before they come in, let me state that I observed the Trump election.
Yes.
And in fact, it was day and night. After the results came, the country moved on as if nothing.
And that's how we should be. Franklin, Trump won. You've always been an advocate. What killed it for him? What did it for him? 1 minute.
Well, I was aware that I was watching a lot of documentaries by not just CNN. CNN, we all know where they lie. Fox, even, we know that. But, Sky, BBC, a number of rather, should I say, lesser known global media. And they were going to the various parts of America, actually talking to people. In fact, I was amazed that in a district, for instance, where there were just all Arabs, including a Democratic, I think it's not a governor, it's not even a senator, it's like a
congressman.
No, not congressman, just like a community leader who just sat there and said, well, yes, we know we don't like, I'm Democrat, we are Democrats, but we think Trump is better for the world. And then some people also remember that 4 years ago, their lives were a bit better off. Well, John will tell you, and I agree with John. If you look at the data, statistically, it's not really that Trump did certain things marvelously well. But, the good feel at the time, there were little things. Inflation, at least things you could buy, groceries and the rest, and he lives in America, so he testified. We're a little bit better off, right? And so the moment I started hearing those things, I said, I don't think the Democrats are doing well, always focusing on Trump. Trump is a known quantity. It's like you already know who he is. But there are certain things Trump says and does that actually evoke this whole sense of nationalism, patriotism. Yeah, HK Penfreck disagrees, but look, the things he says, I don't want to be the policeman of the world. I don't want to be fighting wars. Why should I give 60 billion to Ukraine? Be fighting a war I can easily sit down with some people and solve. So, and then the last bit that killed it for me was that when Trump started talking on various networks, whether this Joe Rogan guy, I'm sure John knows him, he's the biggest podcaster in America. 48 million people listen to Trump for 3 hours. Watch and listen to Trump for 3 hours. When Kamala was supposed to go, she said, I was on call. She was rather partying with Beyonce, dancing.
Frankly, when I leave you on this, we'll not leave here. Also, final one, you have just 30 seconds. What happened really? Why Kamala, freedom, abortion? People say more people go to the grocery shops than abortion clinics. Did she have a message? What happened? Of course, we know her time was short, but.
Yeah, so for me, people just didn't feel good about the economy, the direction of the country. Yes, you hear a lot of commentary that, race played a role, gender played a role, and all of that. And I'm sure there are elements of that. But at the core of it is when people don't feel good about the country, the economy, and you've been part of an administration that have created that feeling. She was facing quite a difficult task of making the case for, I am still the one who will be able to address your economic pain. But to think of the fact that Trump won across several demographic groups, for me, is a real stark warning. Even the working class, blue collar voters who used to vote Democrats are now voting for Trump. That for me was to say that, look, beyond all of these other things, when people are feeling real anxieties about their economic lives, they take it out on the incumbent.
Very well. Thanks so much, Dr. Sekwapon.
Yes, I think Trump won for very basic reasons. One, he promised to stop the wars, and that he said the Democrats were moving the world to a third world war, he would stop it. One thing. The second thing is the experience he had in the earlier regime and the fact that he's going to make people's life better. America First dream.
Great. So that's how we ended today's edition of the show. Thanks so much for doing the viewing and the listening. My name is Selorm Adonoo. Catch you same time next week. Have a good afternoon.